Good morning, DJ and PK. It's a Monday morning. Welcome in. Had a lot of sports over the weekend. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you soaked it all up. There were so many things going on. First full weekend of Major League Baseball. The Final Four is set for the men. It's halfway set for the women. NC State. Wow. Big T. Thurl Bailey. He's got to be pumped. The men haven't been to a Final Four since they won it all in '83. The women are there too. And got to be good times. Good times there. Purdue hasn't been there since the 80s either, and they're in the men's Final Four. And then there's UConn, who will probably win it all. And Alabama. What's a football school doing in the Final Four? Alabama, their first Final Four. I mean, you got UConn, not a football school. Purdue, not a football school. NC State, not a football school. Alabama. Which of these things does not belong with the others? All right, we'll get to more on the Final Four coming up. Also get to more on the Utah Jazz coming up. That was a very young lineup they ran out there this weekend in Sacramento. And the Jazz get beat. The losing streak stretches on. It's now 9 in a row. And no Markkanen, no Clarkson. Play the kids. Super young lineup. We'll get to the Best of the Jazz postgame show coming up. But first, Pablo Mastroeni, RSL head coach, after RSL wins. Once again, they give up the first goal, which is supposed to be really important. And historically and, analytics, that you score the first goal, your odds of winning go through the roof. But for the third week in a row, the team that scored first lost in the RSL games. Now, a couple of weeks ago, RSL scored first against Colorado and lost 2-1. Last week, Vancouver scored first, and then RSL came back to win 2-1 on the road. And now at home, RSL concedes an early goal to St. Louis and then comes back and wins 3 in a row. This has been a tough start for RSL on paper. St. Louis had the best record in the West last year. They've already played them twice. They had to open at Miami, obviously with Messi. That team's loaded. They had LAFC come in. It's been a rough stretch. And yet RSL's come out of it in pretty good shape. 10 points through the first 6 games. They're tied for second place. And Chicho Arango with a hat trick in the second half to power RSL to the 3-1 win. Here's Pablo Mastroeni after the game.
After you guys went down early, obviously you've been able to come back. Like last week on the road you came back. But at home it hasn't been as favorable for you guys. What was different about tonight that allowed you guys to kind of break the mold and get such a statement kind of win?
Yeah, no, I think... Again, I go back to that Colorado game where, we were down, and instead of fixing things as a collective, we try to do it as individuals. Positionally, we were out of whack. And so we've really spent the last few weeks just talking about structure and talking about how important it is. It doesn't matter what time of the game it is, we want to play a certain way. And obviously, when there's 10 minutes left in the game and you're up 2 goals, again, the players have to feel the moments, but again, I think it really goes back to that. And, and after games now, it's really interesting because oftentimes coaches, and I've done this my career, is I'll speak after every game. And we're changing tradition a little bit, is that the players speak after we win. Because it's really important for them to hear each other's voice as to what they did to get the result we got. Because at the end of the day, they're the ones on the field managing the moments. And I thought they did a fantastic job tonight of staying the course. There was times, where, even when we were down, we didn't just lump balls. We sucked them out. We stuck to the game plan. And so, again, credit to the guys for really performing well, competing well, and the way they fight for each other is something that you can't manufacture, right? It's a real group of guys that really enjoy spending time with each other at the training down, away from the ground, and it just feels like a really good group.
And then it seemed like things started to open up quite a bit when you brought on Diego and Andreas there in the second half. What did they bring specifically in the attack? And I guess coming off of national team trips as well, was their confidence just feeling pretty good tonight? Yeah,
no, I think both of them arrived midweek, 7 time zones away, and so again, where we are in the season and the way the guys played in Vancouver, I thought it was a perfect opportunity to give them a bit of a break to come into a game and see it from a different perspective. I thought they both brought great energy. I think positionally they were both really, really good. Defensively, they both contributed in moments. I think with younger players, Oftentimes, the toughest thing for them to learn, and it only comes with experience, is how to manage games the right way. And both of them took on great defensive positions when we were up to 2 goals, which is a big growth, because again, you're not always going to start games, right? And so do you understand how to manage moments that are really important for the group? And both those guys did a great job tonight.
Pablo, it'd be really easy to talk right now about Chicho and his hat trick, and maybe we'll get to that plenty. But I want to focus on the 2 passes that set up his 2 run-of-play goals from Catranas and then from Diego. It seems like it was a play where like one person on the field kind of saw sort of the opening that he had or the type of shot he could make or something like that. Where does that chemistry come from between Luna and Catranas and Chicho in particular?
Yeah, I think one of the things that, we do every week is we really focus in on all the phases of play. And so that final third, given that Chicho was playing more of a 10, and the reason why we want our 9 to stretch is because usually one forward will take 2 center backs with them, and then there's soft space in between. And so that pass from our wing back, whether it's the right or the left, whether it's Bodie or Catranas, that space is always available. And so, but the difficult thing is, it's one thing to be available, it's another thing to execute the pass with the right type of pace and put it in a position where you can secure it and get a shot off. And so, again, these guys are fantastic players, and in order to score goals, you have to make plays, right? You can't draw up a goal. You need individual talent to put the ball in the back of the net. And I think everyone that contributed on the goals showed their quality tonight. And obviously Chicho scoring 3. Hopefully that opens the floodgates moving forward.
You touched on it a little bit, but with when you guys went down early, 2 or 3 minutes in, whatever it was, and Chicho mentioned it as well, how there was nobody really hanging their head, like plenty of time kind of a mentality, comeback type of mentality. Is that mentality that you talk? I guess I'm using the word too, but is that mentality that you're talking about?
It is, and I think where life is more important than words is that we experienced it last weekend. And so we came in at halftime and said, listen, we went through this in Colorado where we were down a goal and everyone lost their way. I said, you got to trust the structure. You got to trust your teammates to get you the ball in dangerous areas. And then the guys up front just need to execute. And so it was good to have a dress rehearsal last week to then go back this week. And again, the guys after the game said the same things. We stayed the course. We didn't panic. It didn't matter how much time we had. We weren't going to deviate from a game plan. And so again, it's easy from a coaching perspective to say that. It's another thing to feel the pressure of the game and want to break and do your own thing, but to stay the course. And so again, a fantastic mentality and resilient mindset from the guys.
Pablo, can you just comment on how happy you were to get a penalty after about 19 months?
I couldn't believe it, DJ. As a matter of fact, I thought they were going to take it back because I was like, this can't be real. It's been that long since we've had a PK, but again, I think and the reason why we want to put balls in dangerous areas in the box, because those things happen. And again, credit to the guys on that play. I think it was Emeka and Andreas really combined well. Deep into their box to force their players to slide, 2 players to kind of not know where the ball is. So it was a long time coming.
Obviously, the team was dangerous before the subs and then lethal after them. How much of that was the subs, and how much did you think it was conditioning and altitude and the ability to run late in the game?
Yeah, I think it's all of that. It's impossible to put your finger on it. Again, I think what you want from players coming into games is to inject some energy into the group. And I thought all the guys that came in did a really, really good job of that. And the other part is, it felt to me like in the first half they were trying to take the air out of the game. And oftentimes what happens is when you do that and then you concede, there's not really a foundation to build from an attacking perspective because you spent so long trying to preserve the lead. And so for us, it's really put your foot on the gas mentality, but do it in a very constructive, collective way. And so again, with all these games, we're learning about ourselves. We want to be a better version of ourselves every game. And I think in the last 2 games, the guys have really done that.
With the international call-ups and the injuries, you've had to use different combinations of players and maybe not exactly where you visualize using a player. how much does this give you thought about what the team could look like going forward when you want to change a game with subs?
Yeah, it's obviously that's definitely a silver lining when you're down a few players, and even Bodie tonight played a really good game, and obviously it's not the position that he's been playing, but I think he brings. He brings his athleticism, he brings his technique. He got into the dangerous areas quite a few times, in particular in the first half. And so just knowing that when Andres leaves next time, we'll have a good idea as to how we're going to go. And then Chicho in the 10 or Chicho up front, the most important part about that is just getting Chicho the ball in dangerous areas, and he'll take care of the rest. But it does give us a bit of, flexibility with the way we go moving forward, especially when the season becomes a bit more congested. We'll be able to kind of have a better idea as to how we're going to go.
Pablo, congratulations on the victory. Going along with that last question from David James, we've seen Chicho start underneath Julio the last couple of games. Is that a new wrinkle, or is that a form of necessity?
No, I think I didn't want to dismiss the Vancouver game. The guys played a fantastic game. And just to say, we got everyone back, let's change it, I feel like it's playing God with the culture of the group. If these guys played so great on the road and we got our first road victory of the year, let's run it back. Let's give these guys an opportunity, because, again, when you're talking about competition, that's a big part of not stifling competition. Right, we want the guys coming back from international duty to raise the bar, not to just come back to as they were. And so I think that was a big part of it. Obviously, Ando got nicked up today, so we'll see where he's at. But again, I think we feel comfortable putting Chicho up front as a 9, and putting Crooks, Diego, Fidel in the 10. And unfortunately, Fidel took a knock in the middle of the week, because, again, if he was available, he would have started tonight.
Do you enjoy playing against physical pressing teams like St. Louis? And is there a little bit of a rivalry here with these teams?
I love playing against it because it's really simple. In that, if you don't match their fight, if you don't win second balls, it goes back to like the most basic aspects of football. If you don't win those battles, you have no chance against these guys. And the team that we want to be is a team that can compete physically with anyone, but then have a bit of sophistication on the ball and dictate how we're going to break teams down. And tonight, I thought we did that. And again, when we were in St. Louis, we had a great game against them as well, and I felt like we won that physical battle as well. Because I think it's one thing to be just a sophisticated team on the ball, but if you don't have that desire to win second balls, if you're not running that midfield, if you're not winning, 50-50s, then depending on the day, you win or lose. I think if you bring that every game, you put yourself in a great position to get results week in and week out.
We're going to go over to Zoom. Andy, go ahead.
Thanks, Delma. Hey, Pablo. Chicho's hat trick was the first for RSL since Krylock in 2018. I just wanted to know but he was just actually in here talking about he was happy about scoring, which he always is, but he was more happy about the mentality the team showed. Just wanted to know your mindset on him just making those strides and having that impactful performance, and also it coming against one of the best goalkeepers in MLS.
Yeah, no, again, I think Chicho's quality really shined through tonight. I think, and oftentimes I say this to attacking players, is when you commit to the defensive side of the ball, the soccer gods reward you with some great, attacking opportunities. And I think he took them. The first goal that he scored is world class. Right, from a tough angle, he hits a real heavy ball against a really, really good goalkeeper. It puts a smile on my face to hear about the mentality, and he said that because I think he's the driving force in everything we do with this group. He's the mental monster during training. He sets the tone on both sides of the ball, and I'm just so happy for him to have the game that he had, because it then represents the rest of the group, and there's a locker room there that will do anything for Chicho. And so when he plays like he did tonight and how he has been playing, I think we're on the cusp of being a really tough team to play against.
Carson, go ahead.
You already weighed in a little bit on the guys going on international duty and coming back. What is the decision in the staff room for those guys coming back and not getting the start?
Again, the one thing is that I believe in everything I say, right? So when I say we're a team, if people go away, and again, if we were in the playoffs and these guys were coming back, it'd be a different story, right? I think given where we are in the season, with the team playing as well as they did against Vancouver, it gives other players an opportunity to step up and continue to raise the bar for everyone else. And I think that's what a team is. It's not relying on any individual. It's knowing that we're going to have injuries, knowing that we're going to have international duties. And when we have when we get to that point, I don't want to sit here in front of you and ever make an excuse about not having our players. And the only way to do that is to stay true to what you believe as a coach, as a staff, and that's that the team always comes first. And so this case was, the guys come over on Wednesday and Thursday after 20 some odd hours of travel, and then just putting them into the group when they played extremely well. And so if we're going to be successful this year, we're going to have to do it with all hands on deck. There's going to be a lot of midweek games, and this was a great opportunity to give the guys who played really well against Vancouver an opportunity again.
There is RSL head coach Pablo Mastroeni. We're going to take a break. When we come back, the Best of the Jazz postgame show. Stay with us. DJ and PK is proudly presented by Murdoch Hyundai, Utah's #1 Hyundai dealer for 18 years in a row. It's time for the Best of the Jazz postgame show. The Jazz started a very young lineup. Colin Sexton at 25 was the old guy. No Clarkson, no Markkanen, and no winning. It was close at the half, and then Sacramento really opened it up, and they won quite comfortably. Here is the Best of the postgame show.
Your Jazz recap on DJ and PK on the KSL Sports Zone. Jazz dropped this one to the Kings, 127-106. That's 9 losses in a row for those keeping tabs at home. But listen, this year's team is about the process and the young guys, and the young guys got playing time. Third time, Bryce Sensabaugh, Taylor Hendricks, and Keontae George started together in the lineup. Sensabaugh, career high, 22 points. Hendricks and George, 18 each for those two. As you imagine, they were the subject of Will Hardy's postgame. Here's Jazz head coach after Jazz Kings.
There's a lot of positives for us to take out of tonight's game. Our transition defense tonight was very good. 8 points in transition for a team that really pushes the ball is something that I'm very proud of. The half-court defense, we've got to continue to shore up our communication. All 5 people on the court have to do their job. Defense is hard in this league, but we had, too many breakdowns in the half-court where 2 or 3 guys would execute and one person would be a little bit late. And against a good team like that, a very potent offense like that, they punish you. They also shot the ball great. Credit to Sacramento. They made 8 threes in the third quarter, which is when they really pulled away. On the other side of the ball, we kept our turnovers down tonight, which really helped us. We shot 21 corner threes, which is a big deal for us on the offensive end. I thought we moved the ball great. And the reality is we struggled to finish in the paint. We struggled around the basket. And nights like that can happen, but I felt like besides the paint finishing, I actually was very pleased with how we played on the offensive end. There's a lot of positives for us to take away as a team. We'll look at some things on film that we can clean up for the young players, and we'll keep it moving.
Coach, you started the youngest starting lineup in Jazz history tonight, and the rookies gave you 62 points and extended hard minutes as well. Just talk about those 3 and what you thought of their performance tonight overall.
Yeah, I think they're all learning on the fly, and this league is unforgiving. You play against really good teams, good players. It's not always going to feel good, but I think that those 3 guys each night and again tonight they've played hard, and their intent is good. They want to do the right thing. They're very coachable, from a scoring standpoint to get 62 points from those 3 guys. I think, is it 62?
Yeah, my math wasn't good.
58? 58. 58. To get 58 points from those 3 guys is very, very good. But we're not in the business of statistics. We're trying to build winning habits, and I want them to feel good about elements of the game that they're improving, because they are improving. But I also think that, for those three guys in particular, it's about the necessary focus on the things that they need to improve for us to win. All three of them are very coachable, and they want to be winning players. And I think that all three are capable of that. It's on us as a staff and them to put the work in together to continue to build those habits.
Coach, I thought you talked about habits. That first half, when I watched the defense, specifically Walker Kessler, I thought there was a heightened sense, since you got some key guys out, I thought there was a heightened sense of responsibility on the physical side. Is that what you saw in the first half? Yeah,
I thought in the first half our team was really flying around. I thought, Walker did a really good job of staying active. Guys like Sabonis, they really test you on every possession because he's so physical that you have to be very good with the angle of your feet. And he does such a good job with ball fakes and pivots that you have to be very sound from a mental standpoint of not taking the bait. I thought for the most part, Walker did a pretty good job. Doesn't mean it's perfect, but I think if Walker continues to play with that type of force and that type of activity and sometimes that type of recklessness on defense, it's going to be way more good than bad. I think that Walker, because he's a perfectionist, at times can struggle because he's trying to make every possession like a masterpiece. And you have to fly around in this league, and you have to try to assert yourself from a physical standpoint on every possession. If you're reacting to the offensive players all the time, it's really hard. The skill level of the league has never been higher. There's been so much conversation this year about the scoring and all those things, and it's a credit to the players in the league. They're really, really talented with the ball in their hands, and so defensively you have to do as much as you can to dictate the tempo.
Coach, final thing, 7 to play. I still sense energy and focus and purpose, which is a compliment to you. But 7 games, what do you would like to continue to see as you hit this stretch?
Yeah, we're building our program. And we have a goal out there in the distance to win a championship in Utah. And these 7 games are important. We don't want to let any game go by where we're not attacking it, both mentally and physically, with that goal in mind. Everybody can improve individually. We can improve as a team. We can improve as a staff. It's on all of us to use those 7 games and recognize what the bigger goal is. I think it's easy to give in to we've been eliminated from the playoffs, and so these 7 games don't matter. They very much do matter. They matter to the young players. They matter to our staff, and that's how we're going to attack it. Thanks.
That's the Jazz head coach, Will Hardy. Bryce Sensabaugh saw the ball go through the hoop, 5 of 10 for 3, as he had 22 points, 3 assists as well, which was impressive. He earned his 8th start in just his 25th NBA game after he caught up with Craig Bolerjack.
Tonight I was just in rhythm. It's not really surprising to me because I put in a lot of work every day. So for it to be able to pay off tonight felt really good.
It's part of the process. You have to have a short memory. I know you went 0 for 7 against the Rockets, and tonight you seemed to erase that and just had more confidence.
Yeah, for sure. That's one of the main things I learned in the NBA with so many games coming back-to-back or one day in between. So just being able to, erase everything at midnight after the game and, go to the next day into preparation, shoot around, whatever it is.
Tonight, Coach started the youngest team in Jazz franchise history.
Really?
You and Taylor and Keontae. Talk about the relationship you three are growing, I think, right now in these important minutes you're playing.
Yeah, I think, that's crazy. I think, all 3 of us work really hard. we get to the gym first. We're working extra hours, and especially me and Taylor, with our time in the G League, just going through that together and really struggling and, getting it from square one has helped us thus far. And, we're just going to keep using, what we're doing now, career night for Taylor too, just to, keep building on that and keep getting experience and playing against these good teams. I think this will help us a lot in the future.
Final thought. How important are these minutes? I mean, some teams may just say, we're on the playoff hunt. I got 7 to go, and you just think about next year. But how important are these minutes, these NBA minutes for you three?
Yeah, like you mentioned, it's easy to just say forget it or whatever. But, I think for us three, going down the line, it's really rare to get 3 first-round picks for any team. So, for us to be able to get these minutes right now and, not take them for granted at all because, there's some rookies who don't even smell the floor their first year. Right. So, for us to be playing 30 minutes and starting together and all that stuff is really important to us, and we don't take it for granted. And, we're making sure we're sponges to information and listen to the older guys and, giving input when we see things as well. So, I think it'll help us a lot.
Congrats, 22-point night. More to come.
Thank you.
Appreciate you, man.
Yep.
That's Bryce Sensabaugh. Jazz have lost 9 in a row, but the rookies are playing and learning. Next broadcast is tomorrow. The Cavaliers are in town. 7 o'clock tip. Donovan Mitchell coming back to play his former team. Pre-game coverage begins at 6. Catch it right here on the KSL Sports Zone.
There is the best of the post-game show. When we come back, Kalani Sitake talking BYU football next. Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5 The Zone. Welcome in on a Monday morning. Time to head to Provo. Kalani Sitake talking BYU spring football. Here's the Cougars head coach.
15 practices down and feel really good about where we're at. There, in terms of the team health, everybody should be ready to go by the time we hit fall camp. I think the only holdup will be one player, and that's Justice Enna. He's probably going to take a little bit longer than that. But everybody else should be good. And everything else, I mean, as far as I've seen from the defense, I like the way the Jays working with them. I thought overall just you can tell guys are understanding the system a little bit more and more comfortable with it. And then the new guys really holding on to the themes, onto the scheme. And I mean, I've been really impressed, more than anything, really impressed with all the new guys that showed up in spring. Whether they're freshmen or return missionaries, those guys did a really good job. And offensively, same thing. I feel really good about the talent on the team. It's just a matter of just getting to get the battles won and see who's gonna be the guy, taking the snaps from under center and who the 5 linemen are going to be. It's stuff like that we'll probably handle out. And when we get to fall camp, special teams look good too. And we with Sam getting some punts and younger Rico getting some punts as well, and so that's another competition. So Will did some really good things, and I thought Matthias kicked well, and so did Capisi. So we've got a lot of depth there and a lot of talent, so we'll just see how it goes from there, but really happy with the team, the camaraderie, the connection that they're having with each other. And I think if they can go into this off-season conditioning like they did during the January and February, I feel really good about where we'll be by the time we start camp in August.
Do you expect that QB battle to go deep into camp, or would you rather have that decided in the first couple of weeks?
Sooner the better would be nice, but I think that someone's got to take it. I think looking at the playing field right now, I'm sure A-Rod talked to you guys about it. You can see the positives from both of those guys. In the meantime, other guys are stepping up, like Bourget and Finnegan. So. More to just keep competing. I think it's done some really good things for Jake. It's done some really good things for Gary as well. So,
are these guys mature enough to handle a quarterback battle and not choose sides?
Yeah, well, I think the key is seeing the type of character you have in both quarterbacks that are competing. The way they handle it. I mean, you can see that they're working together. They talk often, and they're good friends. And so, I think they're setting the example. The rest of the team they've seen it. I mean, we have best friends fighting for positions for starting spots, so that's okay.
How many quarterbacks do you think you'll take into the fall, and do you expect some to leave in this offseason?
That's always the attrition's always part of the game. So now with the portal, that makes it even harder. But it's what they're allowed to do. So we just got to work with the guys that want to be here. We feel good about the guys that are going to be here, and feel good about where we're going to go from there. So I don't know the exact number. I know we have to have 4 to be able to play. So.
Do you feel fortunate in a way that you guys haven't had any season-ending injuries, despite how physical you made camp overall?
Yeah, I am. Well, I mean, that's like the biggest worry for a head coach is that you're sitting and you want them to get better and you want it to be intense. You want the guys to get after each other, but there's always scares that happen, and there's some guys that got banged up that I wish didn't happen, but I don't know any other way to get better at football than to go live. I mean, we put the quarterbacks live quite a bit too, and if we're going to do what we want to do with our quarterbacks, we have to, and that's just the game. I think this year more than ever, it's like that's part of training. That's why we do spring ball so early, just so that if we do have injuries, we can still, if they require surgery, we can still get them back and have them ready to roll by the time we get to fall camp, and then that month of fall camp getting into the season, they should be okay.
Do you like with that, you say you do it spring ball early, do you like the fact that you guys can do exit interviews now, and then when the portal opens, guys who are going to exit versus you guys going out recruiting can all be ready to roll?
Yeah, I think it works out for us, timing and school ends early here, so I think it all works out. I think when you look at the schedule and you look at what we have in college football, we're making it work for us, and I like where we're at, so I think we're taking advantage of the schedule and the rules, and I mean the portals it's new, but we have to adjust and make it part of our schedule and part of our system.
Kalani, as you've had a chance to familiarize yourself with the Big 12 for this past year, do you feel like you've got the infrastructure, the resources, NIL, everything in place for you guys to win, or are you facing an uphill battle still?
Well, I mean, I guess it depends what you're talking about specifically. So.
I guess NIL, recruiting, the budgets, all that.
So whatever's out there, if you're trying to compare us to the guys that get the most and have the best facilities and all that, there's always going to be someone's going to be up there, right? So for me, it's like there's a move for our program to get there. In the meantime, we need to do everything we can using the resources that we have. And so that's just part of the game, man. I think everybody's trying to chase the same thing. What we have to do is do what we got and be appreciative of the stuff that we have. Know that there's a future. There's things that are coming along the way, but in the meantime, I think just don't lose your gratitude and your opportunities that you have in front of you.
Haven't got your thoughts on the 2024 schedule and where Utah lands. It's kind of an unconventional spot. Early November. Do you like that?
Yeah, it's the same thing. I like that they're on the schedule. You know, I don't.
Like the placement, though?
Yeah, it's not. I don't make the schedules, but if I was doing the schedules, we'd have 12 home games. You know, so maybe one neutral site game. I don't know. The schedule's the way it is, and I think you kind of just adjust and say, okay, this is what we got. Our buys land at this time, and we'll just adjust our schedule and our training from now until we get to time of the game. I think from the first game to the last game is like 90 days or so. So we have to take advantage of the opportunities that we have in that time, and then make sure our guys are. There's a lot of science to it, so make sure our guys are functioning at the highest level, and that we can keep at a high performing level by the time with all 12 opportunities. So, but yeah, it is what it is, man. I have no feeling either way. You know what I mean? So.
How exciting is it to have Utah back in the conference? I mean, it's going to become immediately the best rivalry in the Big 12. What does that do for just excitement level around campus?
I'm excited about it. I mean, you know how I feel about the program there and the fans, and I have tons of respect for Utah, and I just think that growing up and seeing this rivalry as a fan and then as a player and as a position coach, a coordinator, now as a head coach, it just makes sense to me. You know, so I think this is and I know it gets heated and all that stuff, and there's a lot of competition, but there's a lot of friendly interactions with both. I mean, there's a lot of guys on our program that know those guys, and when disappointing things or sad things happen, we always have each other's backs. But it's always good to compete and then have that high level of respect. So we're excited about getting them on schedule. I think there's a bye for both teams before the game, so I don't know how the fans will deal with that. I mean, I thought it was kind of interesting that you're going to have 2 weeks of fan interaction before the game, so that'll be a fun 2 weeks for you guys. but I mean, it's really cool to have that game back in, and really excited, especially not having it the last couple of years. So
And meaningful.
yeah, and it's just going to be a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to it.
This is one of those rare seasons where you guys have a double bye during the season.
Mm-hmm.
Would you be an advocate moving forward to have 2 byes in the college football season?
Yep, if they let us have 2 byes, I would be all for it. So yeah, if they gave us 14, 15 games, I would be happy with that too. So I just want to play as much football as we can, and I wish football was year round. I wish in spring ball we could have 2 to 4 games right now. It'd be fun because we actually beat each other up and we get after it. We go live quite a bit, and so it'd be nice to. And then for 15 practices straight, you kind of get sick of it. And but I don't. But I think the players get sick of going against each other all the time. But it's football, man. I don't think there's anything better than that. Maybe March Madness can hang in there a little bit, but yeah.
How much of your role now, Kalani, as a head coach, is spent on fundraising for NIL? What percentage would you say?
I think it's just more connecting with fans and donors altogether. I don't look at it as like my job is to be a fundraiser. I think my job is to represent BYU and the church as best I can, and then make sure that our players do the same. And then I interact with, whether you're a donor or a alumni or a fan or whoever it is. I just like talking about BYU, being around BYU football, and bragging about the university. So that's kind of my interaction. I think my job is, they have guys that are hired to do stuff, to fundraise and things like that with the athletic donors and the Cougar Club and LDS Philanthropy. All those guys are experts at that. I just hang out here and hang out with you guys and coach football.
You were talking about the transfer portal, and this is a decision-making time as the portal opens up again. How do you approach internal recruiting?
Well, I think so. There's attrition that happens where guys, they want to move on. I think this happens in most places where they want to move on because they want to play, or they just don't feel like they want to be here anymore. And so before there was a portal, I was always open for that. I would sign any waiver to allow a player to transfer and even play against us. The transfer portal came way after I was doing that already. So when you say, how do you feel about it, I think the players should have that opportunity to do that. And I think you as a head coach should run a program and create a culture so that the guys want to be part of it. When in terms of NIL, things like that, and what can help retain players, I would hope that they want to be a part of this experience, and that they can see that they're a part of something bigger than just themselves, that they get to represent the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and whether they're a member or not, and they get to be in a faith-based institution where we talk about the gospel of Jesus Christ, we talk about serving others and charity work, things like that. And it's not for everyone, but it is for the guys that want to be here. And I'm really proud of the guys on our team and what we represent. So we're just going to keep moving with that, and it's unique and different, but I think it's something that can really be a competitive advantage for us.
Coach, do you feel like you checked all the boxes in spring ball improving today?
I have to watch some of the film. I wanted to be competitive. We had to scale back a little bit. I think the original goal was to get some live work in today, but I think with all the live work that we've already had, we saw enough. We just want to get more situational football. We wanted to do a lot of, we did 2-minute. We want to do some second down, play the third, see if we go for it on fourth or we punt. I mean, we did a lot of different things. So I like the situational part. I want our guys to think about football. I want their football IQ to increase. So I want them to always think about football and think like a coach. And so even guys that are not, I don't know if you guys saw, but you had guys like Cody Epps and other receivers, Chase Roberts, that were helping the younger guys. That's something that's really important. And actually, Norm Chow reminded me of it when he was here for the clinic. Is just that the best teams that I sit there and listen to the 84 teams, that the best teams of the peer-to-peer learning takes over. And so it was nice to see that happen. And I think we've always tried to get that going. And so as far as check the boxes, I mean, that if the culture is thriving and moving, then we'll be fine. And I don't think the program's not going to be about one player and we have one coach. So we just keep rolling together. And I feel good about the practice, where we're at practice 1 to where we finished today. I feel really good about where we're at.
Eddie Rob said he was really impressed with the running game.
Yeah.
He said that maybe took the biggest jump forward this
Yeah, big difference. I mean, those offensively, the run game and the tight ends being multiple threats. I mean, we have a good number of tight ends, and being able to do a lot of things with them was really important. And then I would say those two things really help our offense. I think T.J. Woods has done an amazing job with the O-line. Now, he's not happy about he's just not – O-line coach is never happy about everything. And, you know, so it's always you're going to hear him say we need a lot of work, but I like the improvement that I've seen from those guys. And there's a good veteran group, but there's a good amount of young guys that can play there too. And then I think tight ends. I think Kevin's done a great job with the tight ends. And, you know, we have guys that made – I mean, I would say the big plays are made mostly by the tight ends this spring ball. And then the run game was really, really nice. I mean, it was good to see LJ get reps early and then to kind of see Miles Davis show up and make some good plays. Folau Ropati did some really good things as well after coming, you know, with the injuries that he had in the fall. And then, like, young guys coming up like, you know, like Pokai Honga that showed up and Sione Moa. And, I mean, there's just Jovessa Damuni. So there's a good group there. Harvey's done a great job with them. Offensively, they're doing some really good things. I mean, I think everybody kind of just bypasses the receivers. Maybe I do too because that's my brother coaching them. But I think everybody kind of just assumes that they're going to be their veteran group and they're going to be able to handle everything. But there's a good opportunity to see all those other spots step up.
It's been a nice pipeline from BYU to the NFL. The latest for possible first round, maybe early second round, Kingsley. What kind of impact do you think he will make at the next level, and how does that help the whole program?
Yeah, I mean, he's. I think it's important. We talked about putting guys in the NFL. I want to put as many of our guys in the league as possible. That's their dream, and so I'm excited for Kingsley. Myself and the coordinators and the coaches, we talked to a bunch of teams about all our guys, and so it's just more about them getting a shot, you know. And whether they're a free agent or a draft pick, I think there's going to be some really good opportunities for those guys to make a roster and to be in the league. And I'm just really proud of them. So the hard part was that Kingsley still had a couple of years left to play. So, and then, you know, same with Puka had a year, Jaron had a year. So get these guys to just stay a little bit longer. That'd be easy for me. But I have to be able to support them and what they want to get done. So thanks for asking that. I think there's going to be some really good guys getting opportunities.
Kalani, what do you make of the Big 12 taking Pro Day and making it a league thing versus an individual school thing?
I haven't had much time to look at it, but it seems to be going really well there. So, I mean, our guys, they trained really hard for it, and I think you have to expect some things going to be, you know, a little bit rough with the first time, but from what we're hearing from our guys, they're enjoying it and they like the experience. So it was just different for us because we used to make a big deal about our Pro Day, and we used to show it off a lot. So it just, you know, our marketing group and everybody that used to be involved with that, they have a lot more time on their hands, so we might have to send them to go get some NIL work or something going on.
Last one for Kalani. Besides that toddler you got at home, is anything keeping you awake at night regarding this football team?
Man, I honestly, guys, this is a dream for me, you know. So I get to have so much fun coaching, and I know we're supposed to make it look like it's really, really hard and that everything's so difficult. That's part of the learning process. Is like we go through adversity, we'll learn and we'll get better. I'm still growing, still learning, and I'm still trying to be better as a coach and as a father and as a husband and as just a friend, a brother, all that stuff. So we're all doing that together. You know, you guys, it's the same thing I can say to you guys. You guys get to go cover these awesome athletes and sports and get to be in these awesome arenas, and you're in the front row and you get to actually have a connection with the athletes and the coaches. So. And you guys enjoy what you do, you know what I mean? And so this is part of the experience. I would just urge everybody that's looking to, like, young people, what they want to do in life, just find your passion and do it, and good things will happen. Money will show up, and a good life will show up, opportunities will show up, and I think we can all speak from experience. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that keep me up, but it's also like binge watching some shows and stuff like that. So it's like I'm a normal person, guys, you know. And I like to eat in and out just like Andy Reid and everybody else.
What shows are you watching?
Huh?
What shows?
Well, okay. I'm into the stinking food shows. So like the Master Chefs. Yeah, I don't know. It's like I like Chef Ramsay a lot. I like them all. So I'll do it all. Top Chef. I do it all, and then I find out that it's just because I like to eat, and I know. I just say, but so I could eat a meal and watch one of those shows, and then I'm like, I'm gonna try to make something, and then end up making something means I look on DoorDash and order something. But it's interesting. Those shows I get a sweet tooth, and I'd rather eat. Like I'm a savory guy over the sweets, but then I think my body's showing it's like I've given sweets a second chance in my life. So yeah, but it's yeah. So I like that kind of stuff, and then I like stuff that has all the episodes. I can't wait.
Binge watch.
Yeah, I like to watch I want to watch it and then fall asleep and wake up and be like, dang, I missed 2 episodes, stuff like that. Just normal stuff, guys. Love you guys. Thank you.
There's BYU football coach Kalani Sitake. When we come back, what is trending? The headlines are next.
It's time to get your morning started with the news you need to know. News update. This is what's trending with DJ and PK. Hashtag Utah Jazz.
Ground throws up an air ball, no whistle. Transition. Sensabaugh, 3 from the angle left. Good again. And Bryce Sensabaugh, for the first time ever, gives a little 3-ball celebration. George walks it up to the front court. Comes off a Kessler pick with a left hand. They bring 2 defenders. Walker has it. Hands to Taylor. 3-ball. Good. The Jazz have cut it to 1. 3 for Fox is good, and Sacramento can't miss. Will Hardy needs to use another timeout. And it was 58 all. It is now 79-60. And the Kings have hit 5 threes in that period of time, and they are on a 21-2 run.
That completely blew the game open and ended it. The Kings hit more threes in that quarter, and they end up winning 127-106. You recognize the kids running around out there, PK? That was a young lineup.
Yeah, I was encouraged by that game. I love Taylor Hendricks' game, his smooth, his fluidity, and his jump shot. You know how when you see a real pretty golf swing and you say, wow, that's an excellent golf swing. It just looks aesthetically pleasing. I thought that's the way he looked on his jump shots, particularly the threes that he made. It was nice and smooth. To me, I don't know what the numbers say. I'm not a numbers guy. Statistics don't mean bleep. I finally got validation. Nice. You and your nerds who think numbers really matter when the boss says doesn't mean bleep. I'm just quoting him. It's like Bronco when he said pizza guys determine these rankings. So you can get mad at me all you want. I'm the bad guy. I know. It's why today's my last show. I'll be announcing my resignation later.
No.
April Fools. Ha 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 ha. So they don't mean I don't care what the numbers show. I thought that was his best offensive game, just from an offensive standpoint, because he looked smooth, he looked confident, and shots went in. Even if they didn't go in, they looked good on the miss. So I was very impressed with him. A lot of forms of encouragement there that I took watching him play.
Well, the numbers were good, and he did look good. And he hit 5 of 10 three-pointers, so hopefully there's more where that came from. And he had a stretch earlier where, I don't know, he's like 1 for 24 or something from 3. So, and he's a better shooter than that. So he had
that was great. It was fun to watch him do it. I think the announcers need to change their tune because they keep talking about having it be a competitive game. The management and trying to win. Management isn't even concerned with that. They're going to sit all these guys now. They come up with a bunch of reasons, blah, 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 blah. So they've made their bed, and it's not about them winning. It's not really, they got 7 games to go.
Yep.
They're not going to win. They're not trying to win. I mean, it's obvious. The kids out there who are playing are trying to win. We understand that. But the management is not trying to win. So I don't care about them, and they gave up a 19-2 run or what have you. It just, that doesn't matter anymore.
Jazz are back in action tomorrow night. The Cleveland Cavaliers will be in town. DJ and PK.
Hashtag NBA.
LeBron, here it goes! Yes! Yes! He is the man!
Jackson has a cross-court pass over to Porter. Porter guarded out there by Strus.
Throws out over to Jokic. Short clock here. Joker 3. Yeah! Make it a 2.
Curry cuts to the corner. Ball thrown in. Thompson to Jackson Davis. Back to Clay. Back to Curry. Curry bounce past Jackson Davis for a dunk. Well-designed play, and it ends up with a dunk for the rookie.
Warriors beat the Spurs 117-113. They're trying to hold on to that 10th and final spot in the play-in, and they get another W on the way there. Draymond Green, 11 assists. You don't see that every day. You know he can pass it, but 11.
See, you like to say Steph Curry's a point guard because he initiates the offense.
Yes.
He doesn't facilitate the offense. Go look who's the annual assist leader on that team. It is not Steph Curry. It's never been Steph Curry. Now, you can go look it up and waste time in the break, but I've done it many times. Draymond Green facilitates the offense. I don't care who dribbles the ball up, who actually leads the offense in terms of passing the ball. It's Draymond Green. I mean, Steph Curry's like third in assists this year on his own team. How the heck can he be a point guard when he's third in assists on his own team? And I know you're feverishly one-finger typing to double-check it, and you'll find some examples in which he did. But Chris Paul is there, and Draymond Green historically is the assist leader on that team. He's the facilitator. He may not dribble the ball up, but he's the facilitator.
He'd have more assists if he had more teammates who could shoot. I think we could leave it right there. The Rockets drop a game to the Warriors in that race. They're now 2 back after getting beat by the Dallas Mavericks 125-107. Dallas has won 7 in a row now. Now 5th in the West. Looking good. Trying to stay out of the play-in.
You and your standings, who cares at this point, man?
Yeah.
If you need to worry about the standings with 2 weeks to go, you ain't going anywhere in the postseason. This isn't like baseball where the Diamondbacks, like, they only had 84 wins. A wise man once told me, yeah, and that really mattered in the playoffs. This is not who the NBA is. Who cares what the standings are? If you're good enough, you're going to win, and the best teams win, irregardless of where they're placed in the standings. The NBA at this point in time, I'm bored with it. Get to the playoffs, and then we'll have all sorts of excitement. The NBA playoffs are great. I mean, they're in 5th. They're trying to get to 4th. They're trying to get to the... If you're worried about that stuff, you ain't good enough. Isn't that what Joe Biden once said?
I have no idea. LeBron James, you heard them screaming in the highlights there. He had 9 3-pointers and 40 points as the Lakers beat the Nets in Brooklyn 116-104. The big dogs, they keep winning. Denver hammered Cleveland, so Cleveland won't be going back-to-back either. They're off tonight. They'll be here to play the Jazz tomorrow. Denver beat them 130-101. And the Thunder kept pace, edging the Knicks 113-112. DJ and PK.
Hashtag college basketball.
Key to the buzzer is no good, and North Carolina State's magical March run continues. For the first time since 1983, North Carolina State is going to the Final Four. NC State beats Duke 76-64, and the Wolfpack back to college basketball's promised land.
The 11th seed, 5 straight wins in the ACC tournament. Now 4 straight wins in the NCAA tournament. Thurl Bailey must be happy. And the NC State women are also in the Final Four. It's a good time to be a Wolfpack basketball fan. They're dancing, and they're still dancing when most people have gone home.
The transfer portal is a beautiful thing if it works for you. If it works against you, it sucks. But if it works for you, it's awesome. I think both men's and women's tournaments have been awesome so far. A lot of fun. I watched a ton of college basketball yesterday, capped it off by watching the Jazz in the evening, of course. But I watched a lot of ball. I've been watching a lot of ball, men's and women's. The women's tournament has been great. That Beaver Gamecock game was good on the women's side. And obviously the Tennessee-Purdue game was great. I insist Zach Baked Edie is going to be an excellent pro. I don't care what he can do in the pick and roll. You can go through all the centers. Who guards the pick and roll? What can he do on the other end? Why do we worry about what he can't do? Take advantage of what he can do. He's awesome.
UConn, Purdue, NC State. There's 3 basketball schools. And then there's Alabama, finally in a Final Four. A football school hanging with the big boys. You surprised?
No, I talked about it just as recently as last night. They've been hanging around for a good number of years, and they take advantage of the transfer portal themselves. A football school and whatever school, I mean, this is all brand new now. Do you have money to pay guys? And if you do, they'll come over. And it's fun to see guys move up. We talked about it last week. Move up from lower and getting on a bigger stage and doing their thing. So, they were really good last year, and they had an opportunity to continue that. Nate Oates and Hurley, just 15 years ago, both these guys were coaching high school ball, even less than that. And I've always believed that. I don't care what level you coach at. Are you a great coach? I've been around some outstanding high school coaches in multiple sports. If you're in this business as long as I am, and I'm coming up on friggin' 40 years, you'll see some great stuff out of high school folks. And I've been around some high school coaches who've been outstanding, and these guys, they're outstanding, and they got the horses, and they're doing what they believe they can get done. It's fun to see from that perspective.
2 more women's regional finals tonight. LSU and Iowa, the rematch of last year's championship game. That's 5 o'clock on ESPN, and then UConn and USC. At 7 o'clock, the UConn women trying to join the UConn men in the Final Four. And USC, I don't know if it's the best juju in school history, but they've got an awfully good juju. Can USC ride the freshmen to the Final Four? So 2 more games tonight. Chris Mack, set to become the head coach at Charleston. Former Xavier and Louisville coach, has been out of coaching for a couple of years after things fell apart at Louisville, but he's back. DJ and PK.
#NFL.
Police are searching for Kansas City Chiefs wide receiver Rashee Rice after a vehicle registered to him was involved in a major car accident Saturday evening in Dallas. A Dallas police spokeswoman told the newspaper that a driver in a Chevrolet Corvette and a driver in a Lamborghini were speeding while street racing. Both lost control of their vehicles. The Lamborghini hitting the median wall and causing a chain reaction collision involving 4 other vehicles. The occupants of both cars fled from the scene. Expect the Chiefs to be drafting a wide receiver now, PK. I think a lot of people already did, but, man, that story sounds awful, and we'll see what happens with Rashee Rice down the road, but pencil the Chiefs in for a wide receiver.
Okay.
And maybe they already were, so.
Sort of secondary to the issue.
The Jets acquired pass rusher Hassan Reddick from the Eagles in exchange for a 2026 conditional 6th-round pick. Pick becomes a 2nd-round pick if Reddick hits a certain threshold. And the Dallas Cowboys and Ezekiel Elliott might be getting back together again. The Cowboys released Zeke last offseason. He played well for the Patriots on a 1-year deal. Presumably he'd be much less expensive than he was last time he was there. Might fit back in their offense. DJ and PK.
Major League Baseball.
There's a drive out toward left. Austin Hayes is back for this. He looks up at the wall. It is gone. A home run. Taylor Ward has given the Angels an early lead. He rips his 2nd home run in as many days.
2-1 pitch. Swung on and hammered. Deep right field. Way back. Maxwell swinging the silver hammer gives the Dodgers a 5-4 lead.
The Dodgers coming back to beat the Cardinals. Couple of late homers, PK, and they get it done. They were dragging there for a minute, but they're back on top because they're the Dodgers. They paid for those home runs, and they got them. Max Muncy going deep with the game winner.
You watch Max Muncy, man. I just want you to keep an eye on my guy, Max Muncy. He's going to be the starting 3rd baseman to All-Star team. He's going to be an MVP race as all these other guys ahead of him get the run. He's just going to be the tortoise coming up slow on the outside, and in the end, he's going to be there. Max Muncy. What a cool name to say, too.
More clutch hits. Juan Soto driving in the winner late for the Yankees as they beat the Astros 4-3. He didn't hit it that well the last couple of years, but he is crushing it out of the gate 4 games in with the Yankees.
Told you, he is going to be the hottest thing in New York this summer. I've been saying it. It's only been a week since the season started, and he had himself an unbelievable series. 3 game-winning hits, throws out the runner. The Yankees are 4-0. They're in Arizona. They got the desert thing going on. as they move over to interleague play. There's always got to be one game with the number of teams that they have. You keep your eye on Juan Soto. He is going to light the Big Apple on fire.
Already hitting it much better than he did in his season and a half or season plus in San Diego. Great. I got to watch him be on fire for the Yankees now, who are 4-0 and off to just a perfect start. Your Diamondbacks picking up where they left off last year, making the Rockies pay 5-1. Diamondbacks take 3 out of 4 to get things going in this season. You watching your guys, or was it all March Madness?
I've watched the 3 games. I didn't have an opportunity to watch them yesterday. I was monitoring the score.
Yeah. So the city of Oakland and the Athletics negotiating to extend the team's lease. City of Oakland wants it to be a 5-year deal with an opt-out after 3 years, when presumably their new ballpark could be ready. But the 5-year contract would keep them Oakland in case there's, delays in construction or something happens. And they want the team to pay $97 million in extension fee. I think they're trying to get part of that TV money that they now know is does you have to stay here to get that TV money? How about some of that for us? That's their extension fee. A's new ballpark is supposed to open in 2028.
I mean, they're drawing 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 maybe.
Yeah, the highlights that look pretty sparse.
It's a sad situation.
Bees split a doubleheader yesterday in Sacramento. The home opener is tomorrow. Tony Parks, now the play-by-play broadcaster for the Bees, is going to join us coming up at 8 o'clock this morning. DJ and PK.
#RSL.
Heck of a catch in traffic by McMath. He's got a future as a wide receiver somewhere. He sends the ball well over midfield. Chicho brings it down. Chicho lays it off to Diego Luna. Back to Chicho. The hat trick! 3-1 RSL. Chicho's holding up 3 fingers. This one should be over. First minute of stoppage time. Chicho Arango, 3 second-half goals. RSL erupts and beats St. Louis 3-1. They were trailing at the half. It looked like they should have had a goal or maybe even 2 in the first half, PK, but St. Louis running at elevation right around the 65th, 70th minute. It looked like St. Louis's tank was empty, and RSL crushed him from there.
He's got no chance to be a receiver somewhere. That's stupid. Why would you say that?
Because he went up in traffic and made a good catch and got blasted.
Regardless.
Royals lost 2-1. Ali Sender, the number 1 pick in the draft, scores for the 2nd straight game, but the Royals get beat. They are on an international break this week, back home on April 12th. RSL's on the road this week. They're going to Minnesota next weekend. DJ and PK. Golf. Scotty Scheffler. Tony Finau threatened, but Steven Yeager holds on to win at 12 under. Everybody else stuck at 11 under. Couldn't quite get over the hump. Ready for some Masters? Enough of this playing in California, Texas, and Florida. Let's go.
Yeah, not this week. Next week.
Nope, another week. Got to wait for the Final Four to wrap up. That is what is trending. There are your headlines from a busy weekend in sports. Coming up next, hot takes or toast. We got the question of the day. Tony Parks at 8, Steve Cleveland at 9. We'll talk Final Four with Steve then. DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I present...
This is JJ and Alex.
Jay Stevens, Utah Puck Report, is a podcast you can go listen to yourself.
The writing is on the wall. I mean, there's $1 billion just approved through legislation. I think the state sees it, the city sees it as an opportunity to kind of revitalize downtown Salt Lake City. So even the people that aren't hockey fans are on board. The NHL really seems to like Ryan Smith. So you just start putting all those pieces together, and it just looks like it's inevitable. And that's how I see it. I see, like, this is something that's happened. This train's coming. You should get on board and enjoy it, and then be able to say I was there from the beginning.
Catch JJ and Alex afternoons from 3 to 6. Presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Hot Takes or Toast brought to you by Siegfried and Jensen with 30 years of serving Utah. Question of the morning. Looks like Lowry Markkanen's season is over after 55 games. He played 66 last year. Is he worth the big money extension? Tony, at this point, what's the point in playing him and getting him injured? It's the right choice. He's worth a bigger contract. He's proven it with back-to-back really good seasons. Focus now should be on the draft and free agency in the summer. Tony is signing off on him.
Nobody's talking about whether he should play or not. That's not the issue.
Well, I guess the 55 games, Tony not explaining everything but connecting the dots, he thinks the 55 is artificially low. He could play more, but he isn't playing more. They're sitting him, and it's going to cost him, 10, 12, 15 games. Hard to know how quickly he could have come back from some of these injuries if they weren't taking their foot all the way off the gas here at the end of the year. So connecting the dots there, I think Tony thinks he's worth paying him. Tony might not be excited about paying him if he was hurt and missing 55 games, but they're sitting him.
Yeah, I don't know that he's worth it.
Just going to let him walk?
You don't have to do that either. I mean, is that the two options?
Yes. You're going to offer him less and see if he goes for that?
No. That's not my point. Not saying he's not worth it is not necessarily saying they're not going to offer him it.
Yeah, I think they are going to offer him it. Will they regret offering it to him?
You can say that this is an injury situation, blah, blah, blah. But, boy, he must have had – not an injury situation. It's a tanking situation as opposed to an injury situation. I got that wrong. A tanking situation as opposed to an injury situation. Just look, at 20 years of age, 68 games, at 21, 52, at 22, 50, 51, 61. Boy, he's been on a lot of teams that have been tanking apparently.
Well, he's never been
3 seasons in a row. He only played in the freaking 50s.
He's never been in the playoffs, so yes.
This will be the 4th season out of his, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, in which he's played in the 50s.
Impressive, isn't it?
No.
No, it's not.
Oh, you were being sarcastic.
A little bit, yeah, a little bit. Don says, can Danny Ainge get something for Lowry? Isn't that what everything is about, getting Danny his assets? Don's had enough fun with the rebuilding. He doesn't want assets.
There's no question that he wants get something from him.
W's.
Well, everyone does.
Dustin says, I hope we can keep him. I don't know why you wouldn't pay him. It's not like we have a huge payroll at the moment.
Let's see, 52 games, 50, 51. Oh, and then he went all the way up to 61. Most he's ever played in his season is 68, his rookie season. You realize that in one season, he's missed
more games than Stockton or Mo missed in their careers.
In 40 years of combined basketball. Hey, come on. And you take away that knee injury in the one season, I think John missed like 4 or 5 games.
Yeah. He powered through.
Yeah. So you can claim this is tanking all you want, but the numbers don't back you up.
So you think he's hurt right now? You don't think they're tanking?
Oh, I couldn't care less what he's doing.
Well, that's not much of an answer.
What's the
it's possible
difference?
he was hurt then and couldn't play, and he's
Fine.
healthy now and he could play, but they're tanking now.
Fine. What difference does it make? He's not playing. That's like making excuses for losses. Oh, if they wouldn't have had that travel.
No, it's not. It's different. And you know it's different. Come on.
You can assign me whatever belief you want. All I know is he's not playing, and this is a career-long pattern. You can spin it any way you want. However you want to think, have at it, DJ. Think the way you want. I'm not going to convince you. All I know is in 7 seasons, the most he's played is 68. What's the difference of whether he could play or he's not? He's not playing. That's the final analysis. You know, you go to school and you get a grade based on what you've earned. Not, well, was it the teacher hard? Was this or that? Oh, that's a bunch of stuff. I'm not interested in stuff. I'm interested in results. At the pro level, did you or didn't you? That's all that matters. Not I don't care what all the extenuating circumstances are. Sure, he could play. He could have played 82 games this year, and if he got traded, he would have played 84. Fine. What difference does it make? He didn't play. That's all that matters. This is the pro level. Who cares what the extenuating circumstances are? You don't get any bonus points, or they don't give you an advantage. Okay, we'll give you 5 points because he could have played, but well, no, he's not, blah, 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 blah. Why would anybody care about that?
Melody says the team sitting him to tank doesn't count against him. I'm not sure Larry wants to stay at this point.
Yeah, I guess the Bulls, when he played 50, 51, 52, he could have played. The evidence is overwhelming. He doesn't play that much.
So what are you going to pay him?
Oh, he can get the max. That's not the point. The point is he worth it? So many of these guys in this league get all this money. Are they worth it? That's the question, not what he's going to get. You're missing the whole point. The point isn't, is he going to get the money? The point is he worth the money? Yes, he's going to get the money. Gordon Hayward got the money. That's never the question. That's never the issue. They're going to get the money. The question is he worth the money?
Yes.
Okay. If you think that, great.
You think no? Don't pay him? Yeah, if he's not worth it, don't pay him, PK.
That's not the way the league works.
It could be if you were running the show.
But it's not. The system is favoring them. Your best player gets the most money. The Suns freaking gave DeAndre Ayton a max contract. Is he worth it? Hell no, as Ron Boone would say. It's not a question of are you going to get it. You folks are missing the entire point. It's not even 8 o'clock in the morning, and I already am pulling my hair out.
No, you're not.
You're driving me nuts.
No, I'm not. You're loving
Is he going to get it? Is he blah, 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 blah? Of course he's going to get it. There's no question he's going to get it.
Benjamin, keep him if they can. 7-footer who can shoot, pass, and give effort on defense. There's just not too many of those out there.
Okay. Yeah, he's a fine player. I don't think there's any question about that.
Don says, does he want to stay with an organization that has demonstrated it isn't committed to winning?
Not right now.
He had enough of Tankapalooza.
But, I think there's a bigger question than that, though. Did SGA, did he want to stay with Oklahoma City when they weren't, quote-unquote, committed to winning? I think they are committed to winning, and they're going about it in the manner in which they think will lead to a sustained period of winning. That's what you have to look at. You can't look at the moment as far as that goes, what's going on right now as we speak. Because there's been teams that have done that. It's like Wembanyama. Is he looking, man, I got to get out of here first chance I can. This organization is not committed to winning. All these teams that are going through the rebuild, you can ask that. The thing that he has to ask himself is, do we have competent management that can get us to the point of winning? That's the question. That's the essence that he has to be able to look at himself and his advisors and the folks he trusts and say, yes, I do. No, I don't. Because I believe they are committed to winning. But you have to look at it in context. It's like saying, was Oklahoma not committed to winning OKC at that time? You see what I'm saying there? I think that's the issue that he has to answer. Does he believe in the folks?
Yes. Is the money worth committing himself to this organization, and what are they going to win? I mean, he's about to turn 27 in May, and he's got to be looking like, well, from now until I'm 30, what am I signing up for here?
Yeah.
Because he could sign, a longer deal, but opt-outs at 3 years are pretty common. I assume he could get that. So for argument's sake, let's say he can get it. Does he, these last 2 seasons, he didn't like the way they ended. There's no way nobody likes the way these are ending. Are the next 3 going to end that way? How long is the rebuild going to take? Because even setting aside, is management competent enough? Let's say they are competent, but what's their timeline? I mean, the clock ticks on athletes. They don't get to play that long. So if their timeline is San Antonio's timeline, well, San Antonio's about to miss the playoffs again. This would be a 5-year rebuild for them. I don't think Markkanen wants to be part of a 5-year rebuild. That'd be surprising. Maybe he does. Maybe he just wants his money and he'll sign up for it.
Well, he's going to get the money. I don't understand why we're discussing whether
I think
he's
he gets
going
more
to get
if
the money.
he stays here than if he doesn't sign with them and he goes somewhere else. So does he want that extra money? You're right. He's going to get a lot of money no matter what. He will be paid a lot of money to play in the NBA next year. We can all be certain of that. Yeah. For all the reasons, I forget who it was. I'm off the screen now. But he's 7 feet. He can shoot. He can pass. He'll give you some effort on defense. There aren't that many of those guys.
He's a fine player.
He can score it.
Yeah. He's a borderline all-star every year. Right?
It seems like that is where his career is, yes.
Yeah.
He didn't make it. He didn't make it this year. He did make it last year. And the numbers dropped off a little bit, and the team started so poorly this year, and last year the team started well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it was actually not necessarily him as the reason why he didn't make the All-Star team. It was the folks around him, you could argue. At this point, I've seen enough of him to know he's an excellent player. I don't have any question on that.
So then is he worth the money? He's an excellent player. Not because he misses so many games and you figure going forward when they really need him, he won't be available.
Man, I don't know. I'm going on what I've seen. You're going on an assumption. And so in order to build a team, you have to have faith. Because if it were black and white, everybody could do it. But it's not black and white. There's a lot of gray in there. So you have to think, the reason why he played 50, and so he had 3 seasons in a row. The most he played was 52 games for the Bulls. So do you want to go on an assumption that, well, that was those circumstances? I really have no idea why at 22 years of age he only
was
played
missing
50
those
games. I don't know. I don't remember. It was off my radar. I'm not going to go back and check. But that's what they got to do. And they've got to figure that out. Could he go? Or is he one of these dudes who, hey, if I'm not 100%, I'm not playing? I don't know about that. But I do know that the guy's got immense talent. I don't think that's a question at all. And he's their best player. And the way the system works is you pay your best player the most money that the best player is supposed to get. And that's how some teams get in trouble, is that their best player, they give him the money, but he's not really that good. You know, if Aiden can get the max deal, a dead dog can get the max deal.
Dead dog. Jeez, PK. That escalated quickly.
Well, isn't that the truth? People want to hear the truth.
He got overpaid. There's no doubt. He hasn't delivered on his potential, and he got paid on his potential, and so now what he's producing doesn't match what he's getting paid.
I don't think he got paid on his potential. I think they knew full well what the situation was. You're in the league 4 or 5 years. You've established who you are. It's not about potential at that point. I don't see that. I know I would disagree that he got paid on potential. That would be a youngster. The Diamondbacks last year gave Corbin Carroll a $113 million deal because they thought, pay him now and we can get him a little cheaper. He got paid on potential. When you're 4 or 5 years in the league, I don't think you're getting paid on potential anymore.
More people weighing in. Lowry Markkanen. What would you do? Looks like his season is over after 55 games. Is he worth the big money extension? Jaden says he's young, he's good enough to keep, and build around him and Sexton. So Jaden's in.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know how young he is anymore by NBA standards.
I think of 27 as the prime. And you can argue, and different guys hit it at different spots. But, man, at 27, I think you're in your prime.
Well, when you're in your 8th year in the league, which is what he'd be as far as the next year, are you really young?
No, I guess maybe he meant young enough. You're young enough to give someone.
young enough? Yeah,
young
I like
enough
that.
to give someone a 5-year deal.
Okay. Right.
At 27, you'll still only be 32. And
sure.
There are guys who lose it at 32, but most guys don't.
Right. Okay. If you throw the word enough in, I can agree with that completely. Yep, that makes total sense to me.
Matt has no patience for this discussion. He's tired of this segment. Do it now. He's got a gift here from the office. It's Dwight telling somebody, do it now.
I don't really see where they have any other choice.
And isn't Ayton proof that if you end up regretting it or want to go in another direction, you'll find someone you can trade the deal?
I think there's been many examples of that. I just use him as the latest.
Phoenix guy, it's easy for it to come to your mind. But you're right. There's those deals all around the league. Honestly, the one that surprised me more than anything is Chris Paul. You can never trade that contract. He traded it multiple times. Russell Westbrook got traded on a big contract, too. And Markkanen's deal isn't going to be that outrageous.
No.
So
I don't think there's any question they do it. The question is he worth it?
I think a couple of those 50-game seasons, I mean, obviously he was in the league through the pandemic, so 2 of those seasons weren't 82-game seasons. He may have missed 20 games instead of 30. And I think here, with his training staff, he could have played more. He's played enough. Having said that, you can always get hurt. Something major could happen next year, and you'd be like, ah! But I don't see how you could know that.
Okay.
Right now.
All right.
All right, DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. That is not the only question. We got big games coming up, and some people are outraged. Outraged, PK. You knew it when you put it up there, though. I know you did. You knew this was going to happen. We'll get to that next. Tony Parks is talking bees and baseball at 8 o'clock. The new voice of the Salt Lake Bees will join us coming up in 20 minutes right here on The Zone.
Accessing. This is Hans Olsen and Scotty G.
I will tell you that I am stomping my feet about this with BYU football. And, I'll take the heat because I get the pushback from coaches or BYU fans or whatever. I don't care. BYU has to do everything they got to do to improve their pass rush. I don't want to hear about, the pressures were coming at a 34% clip. I need sacks. I will also tell people that BYU is taking large strides to make sure it doesn't happen again. Chad Kawahaha is over working with the defensive line. Gary Anderson is working with the defensive line. Sione Puak will stay on staff. Kelly Popinga is working with edges. People ask, what does BYU got to do to take the next step? Find a freaking defensive line that can play. Find a D-line that can ball.
Catch Hans and Scotty weekdays from noon to 3 on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
The band of the day today is Flow Rider, brought to you by Live Nation. For all the live concerts and events in 2024, check out livenation.com. Question up on our Facebook page. Angel Reese versus Caitlin Clark. The rematch tonight. NCAA Women's Tournament Regional Final, winner to the Final Four. It was the championship game matchup a year ago. How can it get better than that? Dan, hard pass. But thanks for towing the ESPN company line.
What's that mean?
And then a sideways smiley face, crooked smile out of the corner of your mouth emoji.
What does it towing ESPN line?
Yeah, that's what happened.
What's that mean?
ESPN wants everybody to promote the game, and I guess he thinks we're employed by ESPN, although we're not. Never have been. Never gotten a paycheck from ESPN.
And I will never take one from those flaming liberals, I might add.
No way to stir the pot. That was too obvious. Come on, man.
What pot?
The one on the stove right in front of you.
No way. I stand for something, buddy, and I'm proud of it.
Court says it's sport, man. Lighten up and enjoy the entertainment. No need for the weak propaganda. Goes right back at Dan. And it's on.
Well, if you promote anything, if you look forward to whatever, somebody has the broadcast rights to that. So are you promoting that?
Yeah.
And that doesn't really make any sense. That didn't even enter the mind. I mean, this is just great TV drama. This is out of control. We've never seen anything like it in the history of women's sports. And it's so fun. The drama, the back and forth, and Angel Reese, who isn't even the best player on her team, is talking about, I don't hate her, this is just competition. And then, of course, if these were men, we wouldn't be talking about that. You bring in the sexism and all the people who wanted to show how just progressive they are with the 3-point line in Portland. That wouldn't happen in the men's game. Look at me, aren't I something? But of course, I almost tweeted out once I saw that, and the tweets that'll come out, and this wouldn't happen in the men's game. 3, 2, 1. Of course, they're going to do that, and they're trying to make a political statement. I love this stuff. It's all out of control, but this is the world in which we live in, and I find it highly fascinating and entertaining to me, and how we've intertwined subliminal messages with the sports. And now we're doing it with the women's sports, and Kim Mulkey is this and that, but oh my gosh, if she were a man, she wouldn't be taking this. This is just awesome. How we've just gone.
I did see multiple posts yesterday comparing Kim Mulkey to Bobby Knight.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I get some of the resemblance, but she's got a ways to go to match Knight. No, he had some. Maybe just got to give her some more years. Maybe she can do some outrageous stuff. But Knight had a long list of outrageous stuff. She hasn't matched that yet.
Her issue is she goes at the media, the national media, and even maybe the local. It reminds me of Majerus. A lot of the stuff, you could find whatever Kim Mulkey, however she treated any players. I can name you 100 examples how Majerus did that. But it was always, he gave the grieving player a hamburger because he catered to the out-of-town media.
Go pick him up.
Yeah, and he would drop everything. And I know some Ute fans don't want to hear it, and it's really old news now. But I'm making an example to why Kim Mulkey is getting all this grief is because she gets confrontational on everything. Majerus, when the red light came on, oh, my gosh, he was everyone's best buddy. He never put himself in this situation. He literally would have people in the press area on the previewing NCAA games. He would plant someone to ask him a question. Well, we were in Idaho. My one arm is a French fry and the other arm's a potato. One of the local media guys said he wanted to bring a thing of water and pour it on his crotch so it looked like he peed his pants laughing so hard.
All right, let's move on. This is deteriorating.
I know you got your image. You got to take care of it.
Craig, go Hawkeyes. He's from Iowa. He's a transplant. He's holding on. Caleb says if Iowa loses, viewership will probably go down.
Well, I don't know about that.
Caitlin Clark's a pretty big draw. If they don't have her, they'll take a hit.
No.
But not a big hit.
I don't know. They'll take it. You got over there, South Carolina, and Dawn Staley is out there doing her thing. She didn't want to come to Provo. Could you imagine if it would have been reversed? If BYU didn't want to go to a school that was with a community that was predominantly of another race? Could you imagine?
That'd go over pretty well. That'd go over pretty well.
This is awesome.
Bunch of TV newsrooms have had people driving down to Provo to get, all right, you got to go get reaction now. All right, I'll go get reaction now.
And she didn't want to come to Provo because she feared for her safety over something that was never actually, according to the BYU promoted study or research, whatever, investigation I think is the word, said it didn't happen. This is great theater. You can't buy this stuff.
Billy, who? And who? Is that soccer talk?
Come on, Billy. You got to know what's going on. This is phenomenal. And the games are pretty good. You got to take women's sports or women's basketball, I should say, for what it is. And it bugs me. Oh, how many points would Caitlin Clark score in the NBA? Who cares? That's just wrong. Who cares? She's not. She's playing in the women's league, and she's a phenomenal women's player. Why do we have to transfer it and somehow make it more legitimate or less legitimate? No, it stands on its own merit.
We got a lot of transplants here, PK. Scotty gives it a go Tigers, Geaux. That's authentic right there. Go Tigers.
Yeah, that's what they do for LSU, huh?
Yeah, it's the French heritage there, I guess.
Yeah.
It's Ed Orgeron.
Ed Orgeron.
Tigers.
Yeah.
Go Tigers.
Yeah. That was a good impression. I like that one.
Tony Parks, Salt Lake Bees play-by-play broadcaster, is talking baseball next. The home opener coming for the Bees. We'll talk with him right after the break. Steve Cleveland joins us at 9 o'clock to talk Final Four right here on The Zone. DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. We are joined now by Tony Parks, Salt Lake Bees play-by-play broadcaster. Tony, good morning.
Good morning, man. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for coming on. How is it being the voice of the Bees? I think you wanted this for a lot longer than any of us knew, and I knew for a while, and PK knew for a while, but it was still probably longer than that. So, how's it feeling now a few games in?
More than I could have ever dreamed of. I mean, really, it was great. Yesterday it was an Easter Sunday doubleheader, gorgeous day outside. Just had all the feels, the feels of the ballpark, and it was interesting starting on the road. Especially being in Sacramento. That exact ballpark is a place I used to take my sister years ago when I would travel back and forth to stay connected to her when she was really little. So there was all kinds of emotions wrapped up into it personally, but in terms of the baseball stuff and all of that, more than I could have dreamed of. It was great. It had that opening night feel on Saturday after Friday's game was rained out. And then, like I said, yesterday, just that gorgeous afternoon, and it was the way it should feel. It was everything that I ever thought it would feel like. So 3 games in, it's been a ton of fun.
As you know, Tony, I don't think that there's anybody in the local media who did not want you to get that job. You and I had numerous discussions. As soon as Steve Klauke announced he wasn't coming back, all of us, literally all of us, and I think you know this, were pulling for you to get this job because this is something that you have worked for behind the mic, behind the scenes for many, many years. All of us are so happy. I even take a sense of pride knowing that you got this job because I always like to see people who work their butts off get rewarded, and that's exactly what happened for you. So it's a hearty congratulations, and we've already extended congratulations to you behind the scenes privately, and now we're doing it publicly because we're so happy. Is this something when you were like 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, because growing up you hear of these announcers, this is what they wanted to do. Do you fall into that category?
Yeah, I was very, very young. My mom and I, it was just her and I still get a little emotional thinking about this, but I still remember she'd be in between waitressing shifts. This is how I actually became a fan of my favorite team, just was around my mom's waitressing and bartending shifts, because she would have an earlier shift and a later shift. And we would spend the middle time together. And that middle time, there were a lot of day games with the Cubs on WGN. And it was right in that wheelhouse. And we would sit and we'd watch. And my mom, who just exhausted herself in the morning and then exhausted herself in the night, and she'd try to get some sleep in the middle of the day, but we sat and we talked, and that woman knows this game just so well and so deeply, and her teaching me the entire game. And it's interesting, too, because maybe had she been in a different environment, even a different era, there's a lot of variables in her life that I do think she would have been a person who would have been a great fit to work in professional baseball and to be around it. And so here she is with her son, and she taught me this game with Steve Stone, who was the real star of our living room. Everybody remembers Harry Carey, but it was really Steve Stone, his insight and analysis. And it was almost like she would say something and Steve would follow it up, and then it was like they were working together. It was so fun. And then Harry Carey's energy and all of that stuff was really, really cool. So from a very, very young age, I kind of had a connection to baseball. That was really a big passion for me. And then the other thing that started happening is I was able to impersonate broadcasters. I kind of had that gift at a very, very young age. And so that also led me to the excitement, the enthusiasm, and also the passion for broadcast. So to be able to mix, such an enormous passion of mine, my number one passion, which is family, and then immerse all of that into an immense passion of mine, baseball, and then immerse all of that into an immense passion of mine, which is then, broadcasting. To have them all just completely bound that tight. And then as to your point, PK, and yes, I felt so much love this weekend, and it was really something I had to step away a few times because the wonderful, kind messages from so many people and so many people that had been through this journey with me at different points, you guys included, obviously. It really felt good to see so many people who wanted to win for you and with you. And when all of that comes together and it leads to something like this, it was a beautiful, beautiful thing to happen this weekend. And I felt every ounce of that emotion. And I hope to carry all of that love and all of that emotion with me throughout all of my broadcasts in my time being with the Bees.
One of the things about minor league baseball is the rosters can change pretty quickly. There's always a new prospect around the corner. For people who are getting ready to go out to the ballpark, who is the next big thing, whether it's well known or not? Who might be in the show pretty quickly, and who should people keep their eyes on?
Well, I think there's a lot of guys that can, because this is a roster that is loaded with a lot of guys who have major league talent. Major league talent, but then also like postseason talent, World Series talent, championship experience, if you will, I should say, postseason experience and all of that. But we're not talking like he was technically on the roster and he got a ring because, he had this stint over here. No. We're talking about dudes who were playing in Game 7 of the World Series, guys who had postseason starts and huge wins behind the plate and things like that and contributed to, huge success of teams during, critical eras. But a guy that I think is not known of as much, I would say, is Jordan Adams. He's a guy that was number one in the PCL last year in stolen bases and the franchise leader last season. He had a career year last year in so many different ways. And he came back and he took this offseason incredibly seriously. He's put on like 10 pounds of muscle. He looks great. Power looks better. And I think he's going to be a guy that continues to flourish. And I think a lot of guys on this team, like a Levon Soto, who started with the Bees last year, got the call up mid-May. He played 4 games, got a taste of it, but I think he's going to be a guy that continues to evolve and could be a household name someday. And then, there's guys you've heard of. Hunter Dozier is a guy that obviously has played in the bigs. Jake Marisnick, who is a long-time major league veteran, right? Chad Wallach obviously has played with the Halos a lot. A guy like Willie Calhoun had a great run there with the Yankees last year before being injured. What I'll say is this system with Ron Washington, I think, is really fit for a lot of people, whether it's guys who played in the major leagues and are looking to kind of have a back half of their career that was as productive as their front half, or guys who are trying to blossom and get to being household names at the major league level with regularity. So Ron Washington is really harping on the fundamentals. He's really harping on the little details, and it's showing with this Bees team. I thought it showed actually a lot this weekend, even though they came out of it with 1 win and 2 losses.
Listening to Steve Klauke do his thing for 3 decades, there's a certain rhythm. And I worked with him on the TV side. I did some occasionally, do some radio with him. But they got that rhythm, and you know how their style is. How would you describe your style, and how much would it be different?
Well, first of all, there will be no dad jokes and the dad puns and all that. Nobody had them quite like Steve Klauke, right? They just did not have them. I love to have a great conversational feel to it at moments of the game where you're especially in the middle of the game a lot of times and talking about different aspects of the game. Storytelling will be a huge part of my broadcast. One thing I really love to do is humanize the experience for the audience and for the players, and to make sure that they understand these guys are much more than jersey numbers, names, stats, where they played, what their exit velo was, all of that stuff. And don't get me wrong, that's all nice, and that'll be a part of the broadcast too. But I really look forward to telling the story of the game. And I love that every single game is like this empty canvas, and I get a chance to go ahead and paint it. Just Bob Ross every single day. And, we'll put a little bit of the clouds here, and we'll put a little bit of this there, and let every single game have a life of its own. And what I love more than anything, and Steve, I thought, perfected this, he always put everything else about the game in front of him. It was never about him. He made sure that was very clear. He was able to broadcast with emotion without getting emotional. I thought that was a great asset. And obviously his descriptive ability was tremendous. So Steve and I are very, very different stylistically. But the standard and some of the most important things, those are all the same between he and I.
Tony Parks joining us. He is the play-by-play broadcaster for the Salt Lake Bees, taking over from Steve Klauke. I'm curious how much time you get around the guys to really get to know them and know their stories, because you talk to anybody in the industry, that access is getting cut back everywhere, and you really have to know people before they really open up and tell you the most interesting stuff.
I think you hit that right on the head, DJ. I think that's actually a really difficult part of major pro sports now, but I really hope we can get back to it. I think that there is an interesting severance of trust that goes unspoken a little bit that I can feel, not with the team that I'm around, but I'm talking about when I talk to people in the industry and I hear them talking about, gosh, it's tough, I want to do this, I want to do that, it's tough to get access, I couldn't get this interview here, couldn't even get a credential there, and it feels so restricted and it feels so controlled that it feels more challenging to get this. Well, I get a chance now, and it's been tough because you jump right into it. They end up in Salt Lake, you jump on the plane, you're off to Sacramento, you have games right away. So it will take some time, and I think it will organically happen because, being around them for, 150 or so days, that's going to, I think, be something that comes along. But I've already had some, great conversations already with guys. I like it because being at batting practice every day, being in the cage with them every day, there's just some natural interaction that you get where you feel comfortable in those conversations. You feel comfortable about sharing something with someone and knowing that they understand what's on and off the record. And I think they're going to feel that in that interaction with me. I think they're going to feel that I genuinely do care about them and care about their personal growth. I think with my experience in life and the way you guys have rooted me on, and you've had a front row seat for some of it on what I've experienced. I think that, I'm not going to even have to share much with them. I'm just going to have a lot of empathy while listening to what they tell me about their journey and what they share with me. And so the ability to be able to bring that to the audience, the ability to let their family and friends hear that at home, I think that that's going to be a really special part of what we do with the broadcast. And so I'm very much invested in that. The organization is very much invested in that. The new addition to our team, Sammy Miller, she'll be covering the Final Four, and she does magnificent work. She's the new in-stadium host. She is incredibly invested in that. And so we're excited to bring that to life in the broadcast now going forward with this kind of new era, if you will, as we transition to a new ballpark, moving towards, trying to move to having a major league team. The excitement and the buzz around baseball is at a fever pitch, and for very, very good reason. But I think that will only add to some of that excitement.
I think about any given time, Tony, you've had about 10 different jobs that you were juggling, and a lot of people know you for the sports talk, but you've also done, you're always doing so many other things. How will all that stuff work as far as this? Because this is pretty all-consuming during the season.
Yeah, it really is. What I love about it now is this first year, I'm doing every single Bees game. And then, I'll still do some college football, still do some college basketball, and obviously stuff with the network, with ESPN. I had some Pac-12 network games set up with women's college softball, and those rained out. So I was the bad luck guy there for a bit. Rain out Tuesday, rain out Thursday, and then I rained out our Bees game to get started. So trust me, they blamed it on the rookie. They were very much on me about that, so it was pretty fun. But no, so still want to continue to do a lot of things play-by-play. A lot of the stuff that I had been doing over the course of the years, it was a number of different things, right? emceeing, play-by-play, sideline reporting, production work. Just it was a myriad of different things as you're talking about. Now most of it's going to be centralized to play-by-play. The community outreach, now that my wife and I are back in Salt Lake full-time, and we'll still be back in Chicago, somewhat frequently, but overall, this is where we're going to be most of our time. And so the community outreach stuff will still all be intact. And I look forward to merge that in with what I do with baseball, which is when I think it's at its most beautiful. So, no, it's a great question. So obviously I'm going to have to narrow it down quite a bit. And especially with the newborn daughter, narrow it down even more. But we're excited for that. And we're excited for most of it to be play-by-play going forward.
So you are back in Salt Lake, because we were all wondering how to bridge that question with you and how you're going to all juggle this. I'm glad you relocated. That's going to make it doable. It's like, and if Tony's not relocating, it's going to get pretty crazy pretty quickly.
There was a minute there where it was like, we all the way back in the fall went over every single situation, my wife and I. So we were ready for whatever the scenario was. It was during last season, I went back and forth to the Midwest. And then during this year, it would have flipped where she came back with baby like 10 days out of the month. We had it all laid out on exact details. I mean, down to the fact that my sister, who's the greatest ever, had baby showers in Orange County, here in Salt Lake, and Chicago to make sure that my wife had duplicate scenarios in Chicago, Salt Lake, and Orange County. So anytime she traveled, all she needed was pretty much baby carrier in the backpack. So, I mean, it was down to the finest details, and we have that down as well. And so we're all set. Yeah, we're good and we're ready to go.
Well, Tony, we appreciate a few minutes. Appreciate you talking bees. We always talked a little Major League Baseball when Steve was on as well. So if you got a shout-out for one team or one player to watch, PK's all about Juan Soto. Now that he's out of San Diego, he can start to produce again just to torture me. Another guy who went through San Diego, was great before, terrible. Well, not even terrible, but disappointing there. And now he's, off to the races again. So you got anybody we should watch, individual or team?
Well, first of all, don't look now, but those Pittsburgh Pirates, my guy, they are 4-0 and looking dang good here to start off this season. And you know what? Hey, I'll throw this out. How about Joe Connor with a nice start? There's a guy that we didn't know that we may have been talking about quite as much, but Joe Connor with a really nice start to the season. Okay, there you go. There's a guy. Right. I'll just throw out a rando. There's your guy, Joe Connor.
All right. Tony, we appreciate it as always. Good luck with the broadcast and the home opener coming up Tuesday night. And hopefully you won't rain out any more games with your bizarre meteorological powers.
Yeah, even the River Cats are like, thanks, dude. We do this on average once every 9 years. Way to go.
Thanks, Tony.
All right, guys. Thanks again. See ya.
All right. You can hear Tony Parks on the zone all summer long here with the Bees games. DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. Stay with us.
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson.
Covers the Cougs for KSLSports.com, the one and only Mitch Harper. What's the biggest thing going on at spring ball right now?
The big thing, honestly, continues to be the quarterback spot. I think that, Retzlaff and Bohannon, they're the top two guys, but I'd say Retzlaff's the favorite to win the job. I haven't come away feeling like Bohannon's shown consistently the arm strength that would suggest that he should probably be the number one guy. If BYU wants to have explosive plays through the air, they don't want to be a dink and dunk offense like they were last year. You got to have the arm strength to make that happen. Retzlaff's arm's a little bit better than what I've seen in the past, but still it's a work in progress with that group. And I think BYU needs to hope that they have an elite ground attack. And with their running backs and the offensive line, they should be improved in that area, but it's kind of a wait and see until what we see in the fall.
Hear Jake Scott and Ben Anderson every day from 10 to noon on 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone.
Nominate the youth sports volunteer that you know for the Hercules Hero of the Week. Submit your nomination at KSLSports.com/contest and then listen every Thursday afternoon to our guys JJ and Alex for the winner. Help us celebrate the efforts of those volunteers making an impact with the Hercules Hero of the Week. And it's sponsored by Hercules Credit Union.
DJ PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. ESPN posting a story in the last few minutes about how Utah Jazz GM Justin Zanik found himself fighting not just for his team but his life That is the headline. The story goes on to detail the health conditions that his kids have had and that his wife has been really involved in as a co-founder and executive director of the Rare and Undiagnosed Network, an advocacy group with a mission that advocates for everyone from hospital administrators to insurance providers to state legislatures for children like their own who live with unanswered questions and symptoms from autonomic neuropathy. And then the story goes into how Justin Zanik had not had a physical in about 8 years and has a history, a family history of kidney issues, and he is going to need a kidney transplant tomorrow. And so, and the condition, they've now tested the kids and found out the kids have it as well. So this is a family that has been through a lot health-wise, and there had been some rumors out there and speculation that his health wasn't good and something was going on. But Woj has the story at ESPN.com and has all the deals complete with quotes from Justin and his wife and head coach Will Hardy and the kids about what the family has been through. It is quite the read. I don't think I could really summarize it, but they've been through a lot and they're going through a lot right now. I guess it's the simplest, most to the point assessment of what's going on there. But huge news, obviously, and in this town, all things Jazz all the time, and certainly best wishes to Justin with his health.
Oh, he's one of the good guys, for sure. I haven't had a lot of interaction with him over the years, but I've had some. Always enjoyed talking with him. Upfront guy. Says gives you great answers, gives you detailed answers to your questions. Not that it matters relating to the health situation, but I'm just saying, in my limited interactions with him, always very much enjoyed talking to him. And then you see this is real life.
Yeah, big
you
time,
remember
right?
when Max Hall got in trouble with his addiction, and we had on Chad Lewis, and we asked him about it. And the first thing Chad says, well, this is life. This is what happens in real life. You know, we get caught up in these games and all these types of things. That's not really real life, these games, you know. They're fun and all that. And a lot of times that people have very serious issues that really have nothing to do with the games. And this is one that Justin Zanik obviously has, and his children has, and his wife has. And his wife, as you said, she's been involved in this situation with her advocacy for what she's been doing now for a bit here. And that's always a positive, to be trying to better people's lives and all that. And here, as you look through this, you think, oh, my gosh, this is about as serious as it gets. And I don't think there's anyone on the planet who wouldn't want Justin Zanik to be coming out of this in a better situation and be able to flourish as a human being. That's what it's about.
He was fortunate that he did find a match, and that can be a dicey thing. But he's got a match, so the surgery's coming up tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, that's just incredible. Dr. David Petron is involved.
Yeah, he was in the story. We've known him a long time. We've had him on the show.
I've golfed with him.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a great dude. Works for the University of Utah, and he's helped me in a couple of situations, not so much with myself. In fact, zero with myself. I've been very fortunate in that regard. It's been with my wife. And the health struggles that she's had to go through, as you know. I'm speaking to you specifically. You do know that.
I do.
So he's been a great person for us in our lives, and we hope that nothing but the best. I mean, I don't know what else to say.
I know, yeah. I did think about that. Like, if I introduce it, it kind of has to be the whole segment, but you're getting into a whole bunch of medical stuff where you and I, you know, I mean, people have listened to us for long enough. They know we have no medical expertise. And it kind of needs to carry the segment, but it's worth the read. I think it underscores something that I was pretty slow to learn in life, but now I know it all too well, is that you never know what people are going through. You know, you deal with people in whatever phase you deal with them, right? You know, a coworker, a vendor, a supplier, you know, somebody you're selling to. It could be somebody, you know, youth sports. We all go through a phase in our life where we get really involved in that. And you've told me about people at, you know, youth sports, and for somebody go into a game and they see somebody acting out and they're like, what is the deal? And you're like, well, if only I could tell you, but it's not my business to tell you. There's stuff going on in people's lives. And, Justin's been carrying around a lot of stuff with his kids for a long time that many of us, maybe all of us even, I don't know how wide that information was. I didn't know anything about it until I read this story.
With his children?
Yeah, with his kids. He's been carrying that around for a long time, obviously.
Yes.
And that the story goes into that. And, it's serious what they go through. I mean, he's got a daughter who's in high school who needs to choose a college. And so lots of people have been through that. But she needs to choose a college that's in a warm weather area because of her medical condition and ability for the body to regulate its temperature. The kind of stuff that happens automatically for most of us that we never think about. But when it doesn't happen for you, it's a really, really big deal and important thing. And she needs to be adjacent to a major research hospital. So that really narrows things down, So it gives you a little idea. It doesn't tell you everything about what the family's going through, but it gives you a pretty good idea of the breadth of the health issues that the family has been dealing with for a long time. And Justin's been walking around that for a long time. Actually, one of the daughters gets into that. One of the kids gets into about how, compartmentalize. I can't do anything about that. It goes in a box over here, which you wish kids didn't have to deal with that stuff, but they do.
Yeah, the Jazz have released a statement. There's a statement from the Jazz, and there's a statement from this Zanik family, obviously expressing gratitude to a lot of different folks, Ryan and Ashley Smith, the entire Jazz family. And Justin, I'm reading the thing right now. Justin looks forward to getting back to work in the coming weeks and greatly appreciates the organization's continued support during this process. And they thank the community for the love and support, and certainly they will have that. There's just, as I've gone through some stuff, then you learn pretty much behind a closed door, somebody's got something. To what degree remains to be seen, and they keep it private. They go public with it, but pretty much everybody's got some type of burden that they're dealing with, and at times the burden is extremely heavy, at other times it's lighter and all that. And then, one of the things that I've learned is that we all have our routines. Whatever your routine is, that's what it is, to be simple about it. And when that routine gets broken and gets out of whack, it just feels different, and it doesn't feel right. I get up at a certain time every day, and I drive in, and I listen to the stations to come in, and then I come in with you, and we argue about stupid stuff, and we go at each other, and then the show's over, and we walk to the car, and we laugh and giggle about stupid stuff that, oh, wait, I thought those guys didn't really like each other. No, that's not the case at all. We're just arguing over meaningless stuff. And in this next segment, I want to get in your face again. Not right now. We'll wait till we come back from break, and I got something I'm just going to be all over you about. But that's all fun and games, man. This is stupid stuff. You're arguing about stuff that doesn't really matter. I've been saying it for 22 years on this show. These things are fun. Well, this thing is life. Literally, in this case, you can argue that this thing and make a statement. This is life and death. That's serious. When you're talking about life and death, that's extremely serious, I believe. I'm not sure it gets any more serious. And this is what the Zanik family has to deal with. This is what Chad Lewis was saying. This is life, man. And you got to go ahead and you got to meet it. And I'm sure the Zanik family will handle it with the utmost courage. And then, obviously, for them, he wants to get back to work because that's what he does. He's got his family over here, and he's got his work over there, and he meshes the two. We all do it. We all blend it together, and that's how we live our lives.
I guess if there's one thing in this story that all of us should take away, and is that it says here that I think Justin went 8 years between physicals. We shouldn't be doing that. And I'm not going to throw any stones because my glass house didn't have many physicals for a long time. Now I'm better about it, but there's a long stretch I wasn't. And I think everyone in the medical profession would say, yeah, don't do that. Go get your annual physical. And we're all busy, and nobody really likes going to the doctor, and there's always a reason not to. And goodness knows if you need an excuse, call me because I can help you out with one. But, pass on the excuses and actually go get the physical. You never know. I mean, in his case, it's kidneys, but, everybody's got something, and probably better if we all go get checked out.
I love going to my doctor.
I don't believe that.
No, this guy, I've told him.
Unless your doctor's Petron.
I haven't gone myself, but I've been involved with Dr. Petron on several different issues. Yes, I consider him a friend for sure. I've known him for a long, long time, upwards of 20, 30 years. But my doctor, man, he just gets in your face, and I love that. He just tells you. I asked him one thing. I'm a doctor. I'm supposed to know that. He said,
You pre-met on Friday night at Arizona State, quizzing your doctor, and he's just got to go right back. I'm a doc. I'm supposed to know it. Fool.
Yeah, the way he does, he gets in your face. He's not confrontational. And I told him, I said, I love coming to you because if I've got a question, you give me a direct answer.
Oh,
you
that
don't
is
beat
good.
around the bush.
Right. Yeah.
You just get right to the point and tell you how it is. And I've talked about this a little bit. This is another doctor. My wife had the cancer and had to go through all the stuff. And obviously, with the Huntsmans and the great work that they've done, extremely grateful because when we went with her, she was in complete and total denial. He told her, "Man, you can get as many opinions as you want, but if you don't get started in 3 weeks, you are in big trouble." And I looked at her and said, "You're getting started," because this guy said it. And as far as the hair falling out and everything that he said would happen happened almost to the minute which he said it would happen. Like he listed X amount of days when you'll start to see your hair fall out. And when it falls out, it'll just be like an onslaught of it. It'll all come out. And he almost said the exact time of day after the chemo and stuff. And I was just amazed at what he said. And for a woman, if she loses her hair, that was so eye-opening for me. I wouldn't have thought anything of it. Maybe I would have if it would have been me. Obviously, it wasn't me. But just the thought of losing hair, at least for my wife, it was so traumatic. And I've got a friend who's going through it right now, and it is very traumatic for her. And yet, I never even thought about it. And then now, you know what the funny thing is, DJ? We look at other people, and I'm not trying to be stupid here, but for a good long while, I looked at other people, particularly of the opposite sex. Oh, man, that woman's got beautiful hair. I was focused on hair because it got taken away, and I never even thought about it. And I was so grateful for the medical people over at the institution that we used for the cancer deal, and it's a Huntsman thing, and all the support that you had there. And we're going back over a decade now, and everything's great, and you couldn't be more grateful than what you are. But those folks who deal with that and how they just know their stuff, and my doctor, oh, yeah. We talk a little sports, and then he gets right to it, man. And I'm telling you, when I walk in that room, I am sitting up as straight as I can.
Well, best wishes, prayers up, good luck, everything, whatever you want to put on the list for Justin Zanik having the surgery tomorrow, and for the kids and all the things they're dealing with in the long run. Polycystic kidney disease. And he only had 14% use of his kidney left. And this is something his kids will look at going forward, too. They've already been diagnosed with it. So,
yeah, this is absolutely,
best wishes to all of them.
This is totally meaningless in the scope of things. But, man, I'm going to root for him even harder to make some great deals when he comes back. And the Jazz get into the postseason, and the Jazz are the last team standing. And Justin Zanik is right there. That would just be incredible. Now, I don't know, winning basketball games, that doesn't mean a whole lot compared to life and death. I understand that. But Zanik comes back. Could you imagine that story? How sweet that would be.
DJ and PK, remember, you got a chance to win big every week on The Zone. This week on Win Ticket Wednesday, win a pair of tickets to see Tim McGraw at the Delta Center on April 5th. Listen to The Zone all day for your chance to win. All right, I don't know why, but PK's going to be really mad at me and tell me I'm stupid next. Stay with us.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I present...
This is JJ and Alex.
Jay Stevens, the Utah Puck Report, is a podcast you can go listen to yourself.
The writing is on the wall. I mean, there's $1 billion just approved through legislation. I think the state sees it, the city sees it as an opportunity to kind of revitalize downtown Salt Lake City. So even the people that aren't hockey fans, they're on board. The NHL really seems to like Ryan Smith. So you just start putting all those pieces together, and it just looks like it's inevitable. And that's how I see it. I see, like, this is something that's happened. This train's coming. You should get on board and enjoy it, and then be able to say I was there from the beginning.
Catch JJ and Alex afternoons from 3 to 6. Presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. And now, your Rocky Mountain Chevy dealer's strong play of the weekend.
Heck of a catch in traffic by McMath. He's got a future as a wide receiver somewhere. He sends the ball well over midfield. Chicho brings it down. Chicho lays it off to Diego Luna. Back to Chicho. The hat trick! 3-1 RSL. Chicho's holding up 3 fingers. This one should be over. First minute of stoppage time. This is Chevy Strong Play of the Game. This afternoon, JJ and Alex will be giving away free stuff if you know the play when they call for it. Their show will start at 3 o'clock this afternoon. Question of the morning is up on Facebook. Looks like Lowry Markkanen's season is over after 55 games. He played 66 last season. Is he worth the big money extension? The better question, Patriot Eagle Freedom says, does he want to sign an extension?
Yes.
Bum, bum, bum.
He wants to sign an extension. It may not be with the Jazz, but he wants to sign one.
Go on, take the money and run. Sing it. Bill says, most of those weren't real injuries. So if I were him, I would have real questions on what direction the organization was going before signing an extension. If the Jazz want to win, I would sign him. Worth the risk, whatever you think the risk is. They need more good players. Can't let a good player get away. Does the fan base overvalue him? Probably. Most fan bases overvalue players. It's kind of how sports works. We love our guys. How much can someone be overvalued before it's no longer worth it? See what I'm getting at here, PK?
That's pretty deep.
It's not that deep.
I don't know
because you agree. Don't
that.
you agree most fan bases overvalue their players? I mean, pick whatever sport, college, pro, baseball, football, basketball. I don't care.
I think they fall in love with their players.
Right, which leads to overvaluing.
It can lead to overvalue.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't necessarily know that they think they're the greatest, this or that. The best tend to be overvalued in terms of where they belong on the pecking order, whether it's all-time, if you should have a player that's capable of being considered all-time. For instance, the statues, they're capable of considered all-time. Where do they fit in the pecking order all-time, right? But you're not going to take a player like a Joe Ingles and say, oh, where does he belong in the all-time list, right? No one's going to say that. But he was such an integral part of the team that you're going to overvalue him in terms of you're going to look for all these other things besides the passes and the points. You're going to look at the stuff that he brings, the way that he brings people together. So you're going to overvalue him potentially in stuff that you can't literally quantify with a statistic. And I think that's what they do. It's hard to overvalue what the statues brought to the team, right? Because they brought everything. The team, there was no team without those guys. But then you might overvalue them in their legacy of where they belong. So you have different forms of overvaluing depending on who the player is. And maybe with Markkanen, you might think that. But I don't think he's been here long enough and done enough to have any form of overvaluing him.
Jazz account at Utah Jazz Guy 1, as long as it still gives the Jazz enough cap space to sign a first option. He's a very good second option with Sexton as the third option.
I don't know that you're going to be able to get a first option through anywhere except development.
In
a
which
bona
case,
fide first option.
In which case, by the time you've got to pay the first option, like he's the first option, whatever deal you're going to sign Mark into this summer will be over by then.
Potentially. I understand what you're saying. Yeah.
Because you'll have that player on a rookie deal, I assume. Maybe you trade for someone who's young, who's a couple years in.
That's what I was going to get at. Yes,
Yeah.
that qualifier.
Someone who's
like
going
an
to
SGA.
Yeah, someone who's going to quote unquote blow up, but maybe people don't realize it right at the time.
And he's blown up.
I
think SGA is the perfect example.
And he was always viewed as someone, this guy could really be pretty good, but
potentially
he's exceeded what most people's expectations were for him. Maybe there's maybe there's a few people out there like, no, I always knew he could do this, but mostly I think those people are full of it.
I would agree with that. But don't be running a break before I get a chance to light you up.
What do you got? Because we're getting late here. We got to go. Steve Cleveland's coming in.
I know. You've cracked on Juan Soto here multiple times. He only had 35 home runs, which was a career high last year. He only had 109 RBIs, which was one off his career high. And he had a league-leading 132 walks. He had a phenomenal season last year, and he only played in every single game. Dude, you would have won 120 games if you had 8 other players do what he did.
Well, number one, we didn't. So, yes, and I can crack on some of those other
Feel free to. But do not crack on Juan Soto because he was awesome last year.
His slugging percentage is 250 points higher right now. And I know it's 4 games, so all those numbers are out of whack.
That has nothing to do with what he did last year.
And that was not his career. He's already had 3 years in Washington better than the slugging percentage he had last year.
Every team would take what he provided last year. Do not die on this hill. Those are Hall of Fame numbers.
Yeah.
Go look at Reggie Jackson, who was in the Hall of Fame, and compare any season that he had to what Juan Soto did last year.
Different era, and you know it. Stop with the Reggie Jackson.
Go pick somebody from last year then. You picked a player.
I'm picking Juan Soto versus himself. He had 3 better years with the Nationals than he had in San Diego.
He did not.
He did too.
He did not.
The numbers are friggin' obvious. They're right there. He had a 695 slugging. He was 21 years old. Slugging was 695. Last year it was 519. BK,
those are awesome numbers. You will only have one career. You will only have, but whatever
he had
number.
A 548. He had a 534.
You're picking and choosing. You look at the numbers in its entirety. Right. That doesn't mean last year wasn't better. Wasn't a great season.
He's going to top it with the Yankees.
If he did that every year, he would be a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Well, he is going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. That's the whole point of getting excited about having Juan Soto. Is when he came to town, everybody thought this guy's going to be a Hall of Famer, and he's going to be a Hall of Famer. But, he didn't have his best years in San Diego. He didn't have his second best year in San Diego. He didn't have his third best year. And I just know at 25, he's going to New York.
Percentage.
He's going to New York. Oh, my gosh. He's
based
going
on
to New York and
slugging
he's going to blow up. Okay, you want to go?
You're picking one stat, and that's how you're determining it.
I'll go OPS. He had it better when he was 21 in Washington and when he was 20 and 22. Those 3 years in Washington, his second, third, and fourth years in the bigs were better than what he did in San Diego.
You're complaining about a guy who had 35 home runs, 109 RBIs, led the league in walks, and played in 162 games.
I agree.
You're complaining about that.
He's going to do better.
Have never
I said he's going to do better in New York.
You said he had a disappointing season. Go back. I went back and listened to what you just said.
Yes.
You said he had a disappointing season last year. You've never sounded more illiterate about baseball than you are right now.
That's not true, number one. And number two, disappointing versus expectations. He's had better seasons. He's a Hall of Famer.
Put down the shovel.
When we come back, Steve Cleveland talking Final Four next. DJ and PK brought to you in part by America First Credit Union. Get the official debit cards of the Utah Jazz, University of Utah Sports, Real Salt Lake, and more exclusively at America First Credit Union. Time to welcome back Steve Cleveland to the show, former BYU and Fresno State basketball coach. Steve, good morning.
Morning, guys.
Steve, coaches like yourself say stuff to the media that causes the media to roll eyes. But now you've got the story to back it up. It's just like a big stick. You get to come out here and hit media people upside the head with it. The difference between winning and losing is so fine. And then people in the back in the media will be like, yeah, says the coach who loses more than they're supposed to versus whatever the expectations are for their job. That's the first thing you're going to say. But then I look at NC State, who was having a 500 season and now has won 9 in a row, 5 games in the ACC tournament, 4 games in the NCAA tournament. They're in the Final Four, and all I can think is, man, the line between winning and losing must be really small.
Oh, my gosh. I've been able to watch a lot of those games, and you mentioned it. I mean, they played 9 elimination games. I don't know if that's ever happened in the history of the NC2A. But it's been really fun to watch. But just considering what, like you said, what they've done. I mean, I think 83 was when Valvano and his guys were the 1983 champs. So this group here is doing something special. I don't know if they're going to win it all, but it's definitely been the story of college basketball. And it's just incredible watching that game. DJ Burns was amazing, 29 points in the last ball game. But yeah, who would have thought that somebody that loses their last 4 games in league was going to actually go ahead and win the ACC tournament with 5 more games? I mean, it's just unheard of, absolutely unheard of. But it's a story, and it's been fun to watch. And they played well the other night. It was one of those games where you're playing somebody. They probably played Duke 2 or 3 or 4 times, but they had all the answers. And it was fun to watch, and it's just great to see the underdog be in a Final Four. No one on the planet that could have ever imagined that happening. So fun to watch. Excited to see them play again. They'll have their work cut out for them, but in playing Purdue. But it's still there's good stories. Purdue's got a great story where they kind of laid an egg last year, and they're anxious to get back. And UConn returning champs, and Alabama, Nate Oates. I have a really good friend in California that been a high school coach. He's been a Division I coach, and he's been telling me about Nate Oates in Alabama for the last little while. They run a lot of that dribble drive and shoot a lot of threes, and it ended up. I think they lost. I think Alabama missed 12 of their first 13 threes, but down the road they made 16. So Alabama's kind of a surprise team, but I've got kind of a connection there. And the way they played, it'll be fun to see with them and UConn. But another team that really has surprised a lot of folks.
Not that it matters in the short term, but the long term, Zach Edey, what do you think of him as an NBA prospect?
I watched him play last year, and it seemed like they laid an egg. I didn't, but he's a different guy in terms of his intensity. I mean, I can't say when you go for 40 and 16. It's hard to not think that, he might be able to play at the next level. I know he's not as athletic as a lot of the guys, but he creates space. He can finish around the rim. I'll be really surprised if he doesn't end up being a pretty decent NBA player. A year ago, we were wondering, what's happening and is this even possible? But Zach Edey was pretty special. And I'm kind of an Indy guy. I spent 3 years in Indianapolis, and I'm kind of pulling for Purdue. Matt Painter is such an outstanding human being, great coach, and you kind of pull for a team like that. I think the last time that Purdue, I think it was 19. It's been like 44 years for them waiting to be where they are today. So, I do believe he can play in that league. I don't know at what level. He's not the most athletic guy in the world, but he takes up space. He knows how to play, and he's gone through a really last year was really difficult for them. When you get an early season loss in the tournament, it's embarrassing, it hurts, and you come back and you find yourself in a Final Four. So for me personally, it'd be fun to see Matt Painter win a national championship.
Utah State hired a new basketball coach, Jared Calhoun, and of course, where he's been coaching, we're not paying attention, so he's kind of a blank slate to most of us here. 5 years at Fairmont State, which is a Division II school, 7 years at Youngstown State. It's a little bit of a Steve Cleveland kind of resume here. He had 2 years that were really bad when he started. Then he had a couple of 2-3 maybe mediocre years, but you could see it trending up slowly. And then he had 2 really pretty good years, 24-10, 22-9. Do you know anything about him, or there's so many basketball coaches on the other side of the country, and he's a blank slate to you also?
He's kind of a blank slate. I've been reading and keeping up on things. I didn't know who he was. He's young. He's 42 years old. I think the key thing is he's won 46 games in the last 2 years, so he's winning. He's got big shoes to fill when you consider that Danny left after a year, Craig Smith left after 3, and Ryan Oldham left after 2. So I would think that Jared Calhoun is the guy that's going to be there a little bit. But yeah, I mean, it's great to see those kind of stories. And I don't know enough about him as a person and those experiences, because you're right. We're not watching those games. We're not even covering those games. We're not even thinking about the games that they're playing in. I remember playing Youngstown State at BYU, and I remember seeing their teams, but it's pretty far removed from my memory. But it's fun to see a guy like that get a chance, and him going there. And I don't know what's going to happen with all their personnel and who's leaving and who's not. But if he can get a lot of those guys to stick around, more than likely he's going to have a pretty good year. So good for him. He has come kind of out of obscurity, much like myself. But it sounds like the last 2 years he's had it going on. So Utah State's been a pretty special place for coaches recently. And wish Danny Sprinkle all the success at UW, and what he's done there this past year is just absolutely remarkable, considering the holes that had to be filled and the transfers he got in there, and we'll kind of see what happens. I haven't heard. Have you heard anything on any of the guys from Utah State leaving, going to UW?
I don't know how that's going to shake out. I mean, I've heard stuff, but I don't know how true it is. I don't know what they're going to do. I think there's a thing now that you almost have to go in the transfer portal just to know what your options are, because what if somebody else is coming in and they don't want to play a way that works for you, or they got somebody at your position? Plus, everybody's valuing up because the team won again, so maybe you just owe it to yourself to see what your market value is. And make sure you ought to know what you're asking for and see who'd be willing to offer something like that.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And I think in the world of the portal, you have to be smart. You have to be informed. And, when guys can see down the road that people are coming in, I think you owe it to yourself and to your family and everybody that's involved in your life to get in the portal and see where you are, even though you may very well want to stay at USU. But if guys are coming in and those circumstances will put you in a different position, you got to do that. I completely agree with you. You better do all your homework, because who knows who's coming and who's leaving. And especially with a new coach, he may have some guys that nobody's even heard of or knows. And so I'm all for student athletes getting into the portal just to kind of see what the environment and landscape looks like.
You talk about coaches coming out of obscurity. Danny Hurley was a high school coach. He had the pedigree and the name value because of his father and his brother, obviously. But Oates was also a high school coach. He did not have it. I can remember one time, I don't know where we were on the road or something, but I was talking with Dave Rose, and he felt like he was scarred because people viewed him as a junior college coach, and they looked at that perception, and maybe some of it was because of Tark, but guys were renegades that didn't want to follow the rules, that broke rules, because in junior college there basically are no rules and you can do whatever you want there, and you came from those ranks. And the point I'm getting at is that there are great coaches, and I don't care what level, I don't care what gender you're coaching, I don't care any about that stuff. If you're a great coach, you're a great coach, and we're seeing 2 examples of that right now, bringing their teams as a Final Four as former high school coaches. Speak to the ability to be a great coach. Doesn't matter if it's boys or girls, doesn't matter if it's JC, whatever. A great coach is a great coach.
Yeah, I completely agree. And, unless you're involved in this game, and, where you really see that oftentimes too is when you're recruiting in the summers and you get to know these guys and sit down and talk to them. And, we mentioned Coach Oates and his path. And and having a friend that's very close to him and spending time. So I've gotten to know more about him because of a connection I have. But, I remember at a very, very young age as a coach, looking some of the very best coaches that I've ever been around were high school coaches who just had such passion, wanted to learn. They were hungry to learn. They whether they were really successful or not. I look back on my 36 years of coaching, and some of the people that come to my mind, I won't mention names because nobody would recognize them, but I had so much respect for guys in Central California who just did it the right way and got it done consistently. And, you get in this situation where you're really successful at the high school level or at the junior college level, and, you jump into a program where you're the third assistant or the fourth assistant. You continue to grow in that development. And the next thing you know, Dave Rose or Steve Cleveland, who have been in high school, have been in juke, and kind of fought all those battles and got on buses at all ends of the night and traveled all over the country in a bus, it happens. It's still happening. And so I don't know Jared Calhoun, but more than likely in my mind that this is the guy that's had to work hard. He's only 42 years, so he's a young guy, but there's so many stories like that. And I sat down and made a list of my top 10 greatest influences in my life in terms of coaches. Half of them would be high school coaches. And I think that I became a better coach. I was a good high school coach. I wasn't a great high school coach. I got into coaching kind of last minute and never even really thought about it. I loved the game. And it took me a while to figure out how I wanted to play and what I wanted to do. And guess what? I did go over to Fresno State and watch practices. Boyd Grant, when he was there, was amazing. But I didn't want to – they didn't have a shot clock, and I didn't want the score to be 42 to 41 every night. And Boyd was one of the greatest coaches ever to coach in the United States. I mean, he did great things with that team. But I found people that were humble and willing and selfless to help me. And it really did. And I learned so much even as we went through the process at BYU and even at Fresno State, where I learned so much from others. So it does not surprise me. It's where my heart is because I had to go through that process. And but the days of JUCO guys going from JUCO to Division I, probably not going to happen very often. But going from JUCO to being a third assistant, to all of a sudden working your way up where you're the senior assistant, and 5 years later you got a job because your teams have been successful. So that's where my heart is.
With the transfer portal, are JUCO guys getting overlooked? Are there still good players there? Is it kind of separated out as recruiting? Video's gotten better with recruiting. Maybe there aren't as many guys missed. For someone who's trying to rebuild, how much can they help themselves with JUCO players?
If you have not been in that environment and don't have guys that are recruiting those areas, it's going to be really hard, And I've got Jeff Reinert, who's a good friend that worked with me, and he was at UVU or UVSC, and he's, his life has gone through Division I, through JUCO, and I remember talking to him and him sharing, ideas. And everybody's pretty thorough because guys that go to JUCO, there's a lot of those guys that ended up maybe academically weren't where they needed to be. And so, I think everybody has their eyes on everybody. I don't think anybody really goes unnoticed nowadays because of the portal and because of the ability to, there's so many players out there, and they start in high school. A lot of these guys are great high school guys who ended up, not taking care of business, didn't get a test score, didn't have the grades, were a little immature. But yeah, I think that junior college guys still are going to get recruited. But with the portal, the thing about the portal is you're getting guys with 1, 2, sometimes 3 years experience. And I'm going to take the guy in the portal that's played 2 years of Division I basketball over a really, really good JUCO guy because he already understands how it works. How academics works, how it works with the weight room, how everything he's already. And that's not to say that the JUCO guys doing it right now. They're all really good coaches, and they're hungry, and they're trying to get to the next level as well. So I think it's just a matter. You get a better look, and again, the landscape is such that I'm looking for a guy that's been in the. He's playing in a mid-major. He's averaging 17 or 18 points a game, and come in and have an immediate impact because of those experiences. The young man, I'm really curious with BYU just to look at a young man that I really like, not because he went to UCI, but Dawson Baker, who was hurt. Here's a guy that played 3 years in that league in the Big West. He's older. He's been through it. I'm thinking that this kid could really have an impact on their program, even though nobody's really knows who he is. But getting into the portal, getting to BYU, unfortunately got hurt. But I think he and the Chandler kid are going to have an impact in that program, despite the fact that somebody's coming off a mission or been hurt, because they've been in and around what it looks like and what it feels like and what the expectations are at the Division I level.
Well, you speak of junior college and lower levels. I think one of the things that's been fun to see in this tournament, the transfer portal takes a lot of abuse because so many of these teams, these rosters are brand new, and they got 8-9 new players, and you see how they do. You take a kid like from Tennessee, Dalton Connect. I mean, he started at Northeastern Junior College, then goes to Northern Colorado, comes to Tennessee, and in the regional final, he's putting in 39 points. I got a Wooden Award vote. I voted him number 2. And so there are players out there, and Alabama's got a kid from the Dakotas that's come and step up in the Summit League, and now he's lighting it up. So there's players wherever they may be.
And you got to be doing your homework. You can't sleep on it, man. I mean, that's the thing, is that those guys can make a difference. And, I think Dalton, like 37-3-1. I didn't really. I mean, I watched that game. I had no idea who he was. I now know a little more about his story. And you mentioned Alabama having similar situations, but that experience that you get, whether it's in the portal or as a transfer from the Juke or whatever, just having those experiences and then jumping in, I'm not surprised by it. Guys, there's late bloomers. There's guys that get stronger later. They get confidence. They get a chance to watch and kind of be scrubs on a team, or maybe at their junior college or at a prep school. They were everything, and then they get there, and the real world is, hey, I'm not ready for this. So if I'm coaching today and I'm on the portal, I'm looking for guys that have been at the Division I level for 1 or 2 years at least, and finding that little nugget that says this guy could be really good. And you don't have to go through the regimen of what our studies. I've got a fitness. I got a trainer. I've got a shooting coach. I mean, everything's set up for them. And now you wonder why they flourish. Well, they're getting so much more attention, so much more coaching, and they're getting stronger. And I mean, I think you guys. I mean, I remember being in high school. I played at Fresno State. I mean, I was skinny, 6'3", 6'4", and I was no way near ready. Now back then, freshmen didn't play at the Division I level. You had kind of like a JV or a freshman team, but by the time I finished my career, I would have been in the portal. By the time I was a senior at UCI, I probably could have played at another level if that opportunity had been there, because I just got stronger. I was more mature. I was a little bit older, and that's happening all the time. And you guys just mentioned it. I mean, you look at a few of these folks that are guys that are just having a huge impact, and you realize where they came from. But that experience that they had, the maturity that they're more mature, they're more responsible, they're just better and more prepared to play at a really high level. Not everybody does that, but we're seeing evidence of a lot of guys that played at a lower level and guys that even coached at a lower level, when given the opportunity, have really taken advantage of it.
Steve, we're going to leave it right there for now. We appreciate it, and we will talk to you next week. The title game will be set. I assume you think UConn's going to be in the title game. Is UConn the best team here?
I do.
Yeah.
I will go back to Indy, but I'd like to see Matt Painter win a national championship. We'll see how that plays out. UConn probably is the favorite, but I'd like to see Purdue win a national championship. That'd be fun to see.
Thank you, Steve. We appreciate it.
You got it. See you guys. Bye.
There's Steve Cleveland, former BYU and Fresno State basketball coach. When we come back, everything you missed in this show, including surgery for the Jazz general manager tomorrow. His story coming up next.
Accessing. This is Hans Olsen and Scotty G.
The athletic director of Utah State, in the middle of a couple big hires, both men's and women's basketball head coaching positions up for grabs. Diana Sabo.
I did not come to Utah State to just be Utah State. I did not come to Utah State to just have an athletics department that is good. We are going to be great, and we will continue to elevate our standards. And I'm never going to apologize for winning, because we want to be 1, 2, or 3 in the Mountain West in everything that we do. So I'm not going to bring someone here who's just going to check a box and be good. We have to bring someone here for our women's program and our men's program that will elevate our student-athlete experience, that will win, that will create basketball excitement in the community, and it's going to fill the spectrum.
Catch Hans and Scotty weekdays from noon to 3 on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
DJ PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. Time to catch you up to date on everything we've been talking about in today's show. ESPN with a story that broke in the 8 o'clock hour. Adrian Wojnarowski writing about Utah Jazz general manager Justin Zanik, how he found himself fighting for his life. He is going to have surgery tomorrow for a kidney transplant. He was down to 14% kidney function. He's got polycystic kidney disease. It runs in his family. And they've tested his 3 kids. They all have it, and they have other ongoing health concerns that are major. And his wife, this is really, it sounds like it's just her life's work right here. Co-founder and executive director of the Rare and Undiagnosed Network. And they have kids with some serious health issues. The kids are 12, 14, and 16 now. So the story gets really detailed. There's a lot of medical stuff in there, but there's also a lot of personal stuff in there about how his job impacted his health, and he dismissed some of the health issues as just, he's traveling all the world. Of course, he says, why wouldn't I look a little tired? He'd just been to Japan, the Philippines, and Australia. So he went a long time without getting a physical, about 8 years, according to the story. And he finally got one, and Dr. David Petron, who we've had on the show and who's been really good on the show, to the point we were told we couldn't have him on the show without going through PR people anymore, even though we've known him forever. He finally was able to do a physical and catch all this, and apparently it's a good thing it didn't go any longer, because it's really serious. And so hopefully his surgery will go well tomorrow.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So that story's up on ESPN.com if you want to read that in depth. We also talked a lot about Lauri Markkanen. Is he going to be worth it? The contract extension that we all expect is coming. It looks like his season is over after 55 games. He played 66 last season. I guess there's multiple questions here. Is he the best player you can get, and does he make you better? And then should you pay him for that? And as they try to build everything with an eye on winning a championship, is he good enough to do that, and in what role would he be on that championship team?
Be a good player.
And will they tie their hands by giving him too much money? I think they've got so much flexibility in the payroll right now that they won't.
Good.
Yeah, right. Don't need to see that. One thing that helps them is, you can go back a couple generations of Jazz players, and Kirilenko's deal turned into a big old albatross by the end of the deal, and they couldn't make other moves and absorb other players. But you're not allowed to sign players for that long anymore. So that's a positive.
Yeah, but I think that the situation is, if he is no longer good enough for the contract, in a lot of cases is because the team got way better. So you got better players. That happened with Hayward in Boston. They got better players with Brown and Tatum. So they didn't need him to pay him that much because they were better.
The young guys exploded onto the scene and took over.
In those cases, yes.
Yeah, in the year while he was hurt.
Not necessarily
right.
Not in the Jazz case. They acquired free agents and drafts, and they got better players. So his value was not equal to the contract because his role also was substantially reduced.
You watched the game last night. You came away impressed with one player.
I just like the way Hendricks looked, his body language offensively, how smooth he looked. It reminded me of when you see a golf swing. I remember the first time
You said
I saw
Hendricks.
Michelle Weiss.
You said Hendricks.
I meant Hendricks. Who did I say?
You said Hendricks. Did you mean Hendricks or Sensabaugh? Because you said Sensabaugh earlier this morning.
No, I meant Hendricks.
Oh, okay.
I totally meant Hendricks, not Sensabaugh.
Okay.
I would debate whether – I don't think I said Sensabaugh. I never mentioned Sensabaugh. No. I was all about Hendricks. I don't really care about Sensabaugh. Sensabaugh is going to be a role player. I don't think he'll ever be more than a role player. Hendricks has the ability to be much more than a role player. I'm not focused on Sensabaugh, and I know he had a nice game, and that's great. But the game before he was 0 for 8 or something. So he'll be what he is. No, I don't think I said Sensabaugh. I said Hendricks all the way, because Hendricks is the guy that you're hoping can take you to places where you want to go. And I just thought he looked so smooth. He reminded me of a golf swing. And when I saw Michelle Weiss first take a golf swing, I thought, wow, that's an incredible looking swing. And in his jump shot, I thought it was so smooth. I thought he looked great.
Hendricks, 18 points, 4 of 6 from 3, one of his better games. Didn't rebound the way we've seen him rebound. Only 3 boards in that game.
That's why I said offensively.
Yeah.
That's why I specifically said offensively.
Skipping the rebounding thing. 7 more games left in the season.
I cherry-picked the stat like you did with Juan Soto.
That a kid. Good work.
And when your big career years on Juan Soto, it was when they played 47 games because it was 2020.
That was one of his 3 years, yes. But he was also big for them the year they won the World Series the year before. And those numbers were still better.
Marginally.
And they didn't win last year. And now he's coming up with clutch hits already and throws.
Yeah. He had 0 clutch hits and throws last year. I watched during the break. I watched every one. I had to watch every Padre game because he played in every Padre game. 162 games played.
Your ability to alter the time-space continuum is very impressive, and we all applaud it.
He's a Hall of Famer.
I know.
He has been since day one, and last year only proved it even more.
The Final Four is set with UConn, Alabama, Purdue, and NC State. Now, NC State is the 11th seed, is obviously the Cinderella. UConn, do they remain the favorite in your mind, or do you give Purdue a fighting chance?
Oh, absolutely. When you've got the best player in the game, you automatically have a fighting chance. When has the best player in the game ever not had a fighting chance?
Last year when Purdue went out in the first round.
Was he the best player in the game?
I suppose that would be debatable, and we can debate that.
Gotcha. Now, he did get the Wooden Award last year.
I'm sorry, what?
He got the Wooden Award last year. But that's not exclusively recognized as the best player in the game.
The dream of the A's moving to Salt Lake, that was hot and heavy for a minute. Does it feel like that has cooled and somehow they're going to work something out in Oakland now? Because that's where the TV
I see
money
where you're
is.
Going with that.
Yeah. We spent some time on it, and it was a fun notion, the thought that we might be able to basically rent a Major League Baseball team for 3 years.
Yeah.
Doesn't feel like it's going to happen. Yeah, I don't think. Well, I think that the ownership there is so unpredictable that nothing is done until it's signed, right? There's always a chance that they'll zig when everybody else would have zagged and something crazy will happen. So I will acknowledge that is out there, but it does seem like the focus, and we haven't seen how the A's ownership is going to react to this deal in Oakland about, 5-year deal, an opt-out after 3 years, which is when the stadium is supposed to be finished in Vegas. But there's a couple more years there in case, for whatever reason, it's delayed.
Yeah, I don't see that. The argument could be, do I want to stay in Oakland for 3 years, 5 years, and draw $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, or do I want to go like somebody like Salt Lake and get 14,000, 15,000 or whatever the thing seats, whatever the final
number
capacity is? Do I want that for 3 years? Do they want Oakland, where people are so turned off? Because apparently everything is judged, baseball careers and everything are judged by 4 games now. And so if we do that and carry your logic over to Oakland, you're going to play before 50,000 people total this year. Not a given game, but total. Is that what you want? You want 3 years of just miserable? That seems like, man, that would take decades to recover from.
That's the two things that they have to weigh right there, right? It will be miserable there. That seems pretty clear. A total lame duck. So no upside there. Versus they're getting all this TV money from Comcast. $67 million a year.
And what would they get if they played in Salt Lake?
I don't know the answer to that. I mean, less, right. Obviously. How much less? How much would it be offset? Because even the attendance wouldn't be the thing in Salt Lake. I think the thing in Salt Lake would be, okay, if you're going to, you've already got the the brand new AAA ballpark being built, and what kind of luxury suite, and boxes and, high-priced premium seating would help offset that. It's not just, okay, we got 11,000 tickets and the average price is going to be, $58 or whatever it's going to be. I don't know. Just picking a number out of the air. I mean, it's really going to come down to a lot of that money is made in the premium seating. So how much money would they make there?
Sure, but what about the players? They'll tell you if there's 3,000 in a particular facility versus there's 30,000, where's your performance going to be better? They literally, at this point, will draw more during spring training than they will in the 81 home games. That's a fact.
Oof. When you put it like that.
So you can money it all you want, but sometimes there's other things that go into it. And here, would you develop players? Would you be far more competitive because players would be more excited about it? The Phoenix station, this is what they do. I listen to that station, and I've sent you clips of it. Uh-huh. They had a rookie who made the team. It's cool. Lovello, the manager, they did a thing on social media where they brought him in and said he was going to make the team and said, you better get good seats for your parents because you're in the big leagues now. And the guy gets emotional. And they had him on, and opening night, he came in there and he got a couple hits, his first and second hits, and he talked about it was probably 30,000 more people that he ever played in front of than in his life than what he did that opening night, and how excited that got him. And, of course, the Phoenix station, as the flagship, which matters, had him on the very next day to talk about his performance the night before. They didn't go some out-of-town people. They actually had the flagship station, and he wasn't on in Boston. He was on in Phoenix to talk about how he did the night before.
That's impossible. That can't happen, and you know it.
And the funny thing, before he got his first hit, on ball 3, he dropped the bat and started to jog to first. And then
in this league, it takes
that's literally what he heard when he got back to the dugout.
I don't know where you played before, but in this league.
That's exactly. It's funny you say that, DJ, because he said literally he heard that when he got back to the dugout.
There's so much time sitting around in baseball. There's plenty of time to be funny, right?
Yeah.
You go to the dugout and you're like, yeah, I was on second base in the last inning. That guy made the out. I bat 8th this inning. I got 15 minutes here to do nothing. How many sports do you get to say that, right?
Yeah, I think a lot of times they study iPads and stuff at bats. But
they do.
Still, there is more downtime in that sport. There's no question about it. But everybody said that very same thing that you immediately picked up on. And it was cool that he was able to be on the next day to talk about it because he had a couple of base hits.
We had Tony Parks on to talk a little baseball, talk a little bees. He has achieved a dream he's been chasing for years now, and also told us a little bit about the bees this year. So wherever you get your podcast, Yock's already got that up. And Steve Cleveland was on talking basketball just a few minutes ago. We're coming back with your feedback next. Stay with us.
And it's all over almost here.
Don't go nowhere.
Can you blow my whistle, baby, let me know.
Girl, I'm gonna show you how to do it.
Join Hands and Scotty G Friday from noon to 3 at Rogers Performance Marine to celebrate their grand opening and splash into spring event at 1009 Recreation Way in North Salt Lake. Time for your feedback. The Jazz put out the youngest starting lineup and lose to the Kings. At least it's better than being old and still losing, you know? An Aggie fan, Dan, says, DJ, I'm sad at this point. I'm forgetting when Jazz games are happening. I was tracking it for most of the season, but I think what we need is a great draft and another uniform rebrand to get me pumped up again. Laughing, crying emoji.
I get that. 1,000%. But I thought last night was one of the more promising performances that I've seen.
Angel Reese versus Caitlin Clark. The rematch tonight. It was the NCAA women's title game last year. Now it's a regional final. How can it get better than that? Wild turkey. Bro, I don't even know. I tweeted back at him. So few people address me with bro. That needs to change.
For better or worse?
I gave him a Bradley Cooper. Bro.
What do you have? I didn't even know what debutantes meant. That was the big Los Angeles Times story that Mulkey was going crazy about. I had to look up. I did not. And they changed it. The writer changed it. Mm-hmm. I think he was trying to be almost like a satire thing, the evil versus good. I don't really think, and this is just me postulating, I guess, that he didn't mean it literally, but those folks were offended by it, so they went in and changed it and said it didn't meet the standards. But I had no idea what the word debutante meant.
Not a word that get used a lot anymore. And that's high society. It's like a Sweet 16 thing, right? Debutante ball.
But I thought it was a positive, but he said dirty debutantes, and I guess it was a negative.
Well, if you put dirty in front of it, it would be. But I thought debutante would be either neutral or positive.
Yeah, but it's like saying, he's a bad man.
That means good.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Right. All this controversy surrounding these games have just been entertaining.
Jazz account at Utah Jazz Guy 1. What could be better than the Reese Caitlin Clark Angel Reese Caitlin Clark rematch on Monday? And Jazz account says, "Well, I could be independently wealthy, so I don't have to work." See, that would be better.
Yeah, but would you be bored?
I think you'd like to try it. My guess is no.
Well, it depends on how old you are. I mean, if you're 65 and you've worked for 45 years, that's another story. But if you're 35,
and you've already caught the rabbit, now what do I do?
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that. Let's see. Jazz put out the youngest starting lineup and lose to the Kings. At least it's better than being old and losing. And Nancy says, old or young, what's the point? A loss is a loss. You're still a loser no matter your age. No hope in Nancy's world. No hope whatsoever.
I don't know, man. I'm not so sure about that because there's a learning process that must take place. So basically what you're calling is guys like MJ a loser for the first 6 or 7 years of their NBA careers, right?
And nobody wants to do that.
Right. How many dogs with a W have won so early in their NBA life?
Very short list.
Yeah.
3 guys.
What was Kobe?
Kobe was pretty young, and people would say he had Shaq. He wouldn't have won without Shaq.
Well, but
Kobe was pretty young. Duncan had Robinson, or would he have won?
No, nobody wins unto themselves.
Magic won as a rookie. He had Kareem. Bird.
But yet he didn't have Kareem for a game, and he produced the single greatest game in NBA history.
Yep. So there's 4 guys who are obvious Hall of Famers and generational talents who won early. 4.
Yeah, Bird was out of college, man, 5 years.
He did play. He was in college for 5 years, and it was his second year in the pros. So if someone came out now after 1 year, it'd be like winning your 6th year of the NBA as far as getting to chronological age.
Yeah, exactly.
But I don't think there's anybody beyond those 4 guys. And now you can discount some of the 4. Like, okay, if you want to say Bird. And Duncan was in college 4 years. He wasn't in college 5.
Correct.
So he won 6 years out of high school. Bird won 7 years out of high school. Magic won 3 years out of high school.
Right. I think
and
there's something
the other
to
one?
be said
Kobe.
for that.
Kobe.
I don't know. I wasn't sure on Kobe.
I think Kobe would have won 5 years out of high school, I think, in 2000. Maybe 4. Maybe it was his 4th year out. This is his 4th year out. So. But those guys, I mean, those are all people you can just refer to with one name, and everybody who follows basketball is like, oh, yeah, that Hall of Famer, right? It's like there's Hall of Famers, and then there's first ballot Hall of Famers, and there's the first ballot Hall of Famer who goes by one name.
And then there's first team all whackers.
Riley somewhere is like, thanks for not letting that go.
He's in Arizona right now.
Oh, he is?
I was conversing with him just yesterday.
We are going to stop conversing right now. Ben is up next right here on The Zone.